school that posted. Let's check this out. I took 15 AP classes and got straight A's in all of them. Oh, wait, never mind. They didn't post their. Never mind. I need to delete my tweet. I missed the top part. I took 15 AP classes and got straight A's in all of them. My SAT is a 1570. For extracurriculars, I volunteered at an air and space museum, did robotics, volunteered at a political campaign, and a few other ECs. I got denied from UC Davis, UC Irvine, MIT, and UCSD so far. I guess my ECs are weak maybe, and UCLA and JHU denied me. More rejections to the list. I need to delete my response. Okay, I said they didn't post their GPA, but you can kind of infer probably what it was. Now, assuming every class they took was, I forgot how many classes does the average high schooler take in total. Anyways, depends on how your school does it, but the immediate cope is, who wants to bet that this is a white male? Here's the fundamental problem with this. All right, maybe this would work for like any other post, but 4 of these schools are University of California campuses. The California Supreme Court ruled that because these were technically public, they're called the public Ivies. All of these are very good schools, but they're technically public institutions. Because all of these schools are public, they're obligated to do race-blind admissions. Race cannot be a factor they consider for admission. And as a result, I think, what is it? They didn't apply to Berkeley, but UC Berkeley's what, like 60% Asian? 4 out of 6 of these schools don't even consider race. And then you have MIT with what, like a 5% acceptance rate? It's not Ivy League, but it's comparable. It has a lower acceptance rate than some Ivy Leagues. And for those of you that don't know, okay, this person didn't post their GPA. Even with a 4.0 GPA, when you're applying against like the biggest tryhards from high school, valedictorians, so even with, you're already with a 1570, because like the perfect SAT score is a 1600, you're applying against people with 1600s, 4.0s who like cured cancer and obviously I'm exaggerating, but like I used to joke, like to get into like a school like MIT or Harvard, if you're not curing cancer or something like in your extracurriculars, you're not getting in. Now, for the other four, if you're not a UCLA on its own is notoriously hard to get into, but since they're public universities, they favor residents of the state of California. So if you're applying and a resident of another state, you're almost certainly not going to get in. They have a lot of international students, but for like domestic students, I think it's like notoriously hard to get into these schools if you live outside of California. There's something being left out here, but obviously the immediate cope of, oh, they did it because they're white doesn't really work when 4 of these schools do race-blind admissions. This person clearly is not exactly, because what they look for, it's in your extracurriculars, because you're going against the best of the best. So like a 4.0 is just like the expectation. If you get a 4.0 perfect SAT score, that's the expectation. You need something that's going to make you like seem like a future president or something in your application, something that shows leadership and initiative. And volunteering at a museum, we don't know how much they did this, but like let's say they volunteered at a museum a few times a week for a few months. Being a part of a club and doing some work for a political campaign is, yes, it is like lacking in terms of extracurriculars for what like a school like MIT would be looking for. So this is just like total cope. I don't know. I love how like we've gone full circle, and it used to be like these accounts would be like, oh, these people are blaming everything on their race. And it's just like totally gone full circle. And like, you didn't get the job, it's because DEI. You didn't get into college, it's fucking DEI. We don't even know the race of this person. Their essay could have also sucked. That's true. I read one where this kid with perfect scores got rejected to like every school, and it turns out he submitted he didn't like do the application properly. So it was an automatic rejection. Now, I've got some news from our good old friend Jake Weddle. Apparently, there are some allegations being. So, for those of you that don't know, and I've been waiting for maybe a rainy day to look into it, a long time ago, did an interview with the ex Mr. Beast employee, Jake Weddle, who got big going after Mr. Beast. Did an interview with him where his psycho ex girlfriend, who called the cops on him, hacked into his Discord live to stop the interview. She's insane. She has a big history with her town where they all hate her. She like lied about. She's like BPD to the max. Okay, she's like developed a hater base, and she's like virtually a nobody. But apparently she's back after that. She went. Apparently she disappeared for a while after my interview with Jake, and now she's come back. Apparently, let me check this out. Who's this in response to? This okay. Okay, Onion is Lex. Okay, Onion is Lex. Haven't been drawing too much because of life stuff. Still in that shit posting grind though. Seventh slide is Lyrics' Sona. Uh, it's just really poorly made. Compilation of the stuff I made these past few months, Lamau, since the sub is kind of dry. Okay, so this is a Lyrics fan. All right, Dog Pack. So some edits of people. I don't know why you would post this. Wait, this is Lyrics? This is supposed to be Lyrics? Anyways, so Lex, considering you're a child, I'm not sure constantly drawing romantic images of the men that essentially groomed you is healthy. You may think it's okay for those guys to want to tell you all their problems, but it really isn't, and now it appears you're obsessed with the situation, especially reading your comments. Saying that more common due to your age. I'm sorry, but two grown men don't need the emotional support or devotion of a child. These posts, frankly, make me uncomfortable. What? They groom them? Dawson didn't do anything. Jake has been DMing Snow ever since we broke up, encouraging this behavior and talking about his personal problems, including private and very skewed details about our relationship. She was 13, now 14. He's 27, 28 at the end of the month. Since then, Snow's drawings have become increasingly concerning and more frequent. He loves the attention. Snow admitted this in a Discord server where many people, including me, were trying to inform her that this is an unhealthy situation, to which she responded defending Jake as hard as she could, saying things such as, I don't know why you're treating me like a kid, I'm almost 14, and calling me a bitch for some reason, probably because she knew Jake would give her brownie points for it. Whatever your opinion is of me after Jake went on a tirade in an attempt to ruin my reputation, before it's always her, she's always the one in the wrong, and every time, dude, everybody in this her best friend has made like a whole hate account dedicated to her, okay, long before she was in any like mainstream drama, and in every situation, what was it like? She said her friend, she had like asked her friend to drive 2 minutes for her birthday party, and they had like a falling out. No, she was like freeloading and had like her friend like pay bills and pay for her to go on a trip or whatever, and they had some falling out over it, and then she like was acting like he was the selfish one for not giving her more money or something. Whatever, yeah. That there's a reason people are trying to speak out about him, and there's a reason he's trying to silence slash discredit them before they get the chance, which is ironic because he calls out Jimmy for doing that exact thing. You literally refused to see any of my messages with Jake and muted me when I tried to say multiple times I am not being groomed. Also, how the fuck are my drawings concerning? And no, me drawing your ex hanging around another guy isn't an answer. By definition, Jake is not a groomer. He's never once made sexual comments slash tried to make me engage in something destructive, and in fact, tells me not to idolize him. Stop using me as a pawn in your beef with Jake. What the fuck? I just want to draw. Firstly, to clarify, I started this discussion. Okay, I don't care. I want to add, on many occasions, Jake even mentioned Snow being parasocial and the art being weird to him. Mentioned her always being one of the first people in his chat every YouTube premiere he did. We talked about it many times. He'll deny it, though, of course, to preserve her illusion. He's aware, but she defends him online, so he feeds it. He's not your hero, Snow. You are his pawn. Look how adamantly you're defending him. If it was Jimmy being called out for talking to a 13-year-old, you'd be ripe with anger and keyboard ready. Okay, so just to clarify here, no, there is nothing wrong with talking. I'm saying talking, okay? And I'm going to elaborate. There is nothing wrong with talking to a minor. Now, should you? No, I can't see, like, conceivably, like, what there is to be gained by, like, talking to a 13-year-old. Now, Jake is saying this person is, like, one of his biggest fans, so that probably creates a common ground for some sort of interaction. But even then, had I been in his shoes, I wouldn't engage. He doesn't seem like the brightest, though. But engaging, so there's a fundamental difference between talking to him, obviously, between talking to a minor and talking to a minor with sexual intent or in an inappropriate manner. So I want to see what they were talking about. But when she says grooming here, I consider this libel unless she is attempting to say that Jake is trying to get the minor to a point where he can elicit some sort of sexual gratification or get the minor to engage in a sexual act. We need to stop doing this shit where it's like, well, technically the definition of grooming doesn't mean you're a pedophile, and it's like, sure, words evolve though, definitions evolve. We have formal meanings, colloquial meanings, and almost everybody online is using the colloquial definition of the term grooming. So you should never use it unless you're trying to imply somebody some sort of like predator. I know you said you didn't want to argue, but come on, anytime I was first in a premiere, I was already home and had free time, so I don't really see the problem with that. Yeah, what is the problem with that? You broke up with Jake before I started talking to him, so I don't know if his previous opinions on me still exist, but either way, I apologize if I gave him that discomfort. I've told Jake if he was yeah, also, why is she adding this comment in other than to like make like this feels like a little manipulative. Like, yeah, Jake told me he didn't like you or whatever. And she's acting like it's not addressed to her, but it seems like the point of this comment is to try and like draw a rift or make this person no longer a fan of Jake's. I don't know if his previous opinions of me still exist, but either way, I apologize for giving him the discomfort. I've told Jake if he was ever uncomfortable with something I did, I'd stop. Here's what, by the way, I just need to clarify. Here's what Jake Weddle does not seem very smart, and he obviously seems to be mentally ill in some sense. I don't know if he's like autistic or something or whatever. But when I spoke to this guy, okay, and I'm somebody that was like, although it was false, he had believed as part of the quote unquote rape Jake Weddle campaign. Upon my first off stream conversation with the guy, he did not stop talking. He seemed like somebody that just like wants an audience to like to just like tell everything to or confide in or whatever. And I barely knew the guy, so it was like a little odd. But it's like it seems like that's like his like he just and then obviously to talk about your personal problems with a 13-year-old, obviously that's not like an appropriate conversation. But there's a distinction between doing something like that and like doing so with sexual or predatory intent. I do want to see these DMs though. He's a grown man, so I think he should tell me what he does and doesn't want me to draw. If we're talking, no. He, after all was the one who asked. He was after all was the one who asked me if I was shipping him and Dawson together, which I wasn't at the time for two reasons. One, it's weird to draw ship art of people. When this guy's too above it to say hi to his most dedicated view. I'm sorry, I'm trying to go back and forth. Hi Shelby, hi Lumpy Willie, hi Sardino, hi Abayu, hi Pie, hi Toki, hi to all of you. And then if you give me $3, I'll say hello. Um, I never said it was okay to talk. Well, no, what I said, no, I actually did say that. No, I said that. No, I think I did say that. In the context they're referring to, no. Though, no, I think it reaches a line or breaches a line a little bit. I'm saying like the notion of talking to a minor in general as an adult is not inherently inappropriate, right? The nature of those conversations is what we're going to assess. Anyways, I didn't know Jake and Dawson's opinion on shipping before then, so I didn't want to upset them, and he told me they both actually found it funny. So if everyone's super concerned about him not liking that, there you go. I am defending him simply because what you're accusing him of is not true. And in a way, I'm also a victim of your behavior because you're accusing someone I respect of being a groomer and using me to reinforce your narrative of him. If you, by the way, if Lex said she was trying to like talk to this kid on Discord, I'm not going to reach out to the kid for comment or screenshots of what happened with Lex. But Lex said she was like trying to talk to this kid on Discord. Um, and it's like if you believe that there is an active grooming going on here, why are you like attempting to like talk to the 13-year-old directly? Tell them to go to their parents. Tell them to go to their parents or file some sort of report. It's because you don't believe that's what's happening. You're trying to get back at Jake in some sense. But it is a little interesting that Lyrics has like 13-year-old Sims. When I first started posting here, I was told by Downtown Station that I can feel free to keep posting, so I did. It wasn't until January or February that people started saying I was posting off-topic things and that I should leave this up. I also don't know why I'm not banned yet if posting my art is against the rules, because someone has to have banning permissions, right? Regardless, I see that there's been a switch up in the reception of me and the mods need to come to an actual decision as to whether or not they still want me here. Nobody in this situation is a hero. I know that. Yeah, I know I do portray certain people more positively than others, but that's just because of my personal opinions and also the people I portray less positively are Jimmy and his sidekick, who I personally am not a fan of for a multitude of reasons, even unrelated to Mr. Beast. Really, if I had to, what? What is Toki saying uh-oh for? Huh? What? What's scary? What? Tell me what scary thing is happening right now. Please, enlighten me. Okay. You're like the autistic guy in a restaurant, like the adult autistic guy in a restaurant that occasionally like jerks and makes like strange noises and movements that your mom like tells you not to look at, that it's like rude to stare at. That's Toki. Like every 2 seconds, uh-oh, like in the corner, in the booth in the corner. Reacting to what? What are you reacting to? Is Toki not allowed to? No, Toki's not allowed to react. I got fixated on this drama by like day two of it even existing, way before I ever had any interaction with Dawson and Jake. And I've only ever interacted with Dawson once in a post of mine. My fixations really just happen if I see a character slash person I like. My interactions with anybody have little to no influence on them. Again, when I talk to Jake, he's never encouraged any behavior of the sort. In fact, he encourages me to draw other things aside from the beast drama stuff, and not to get worried about him to the point it affects my well-being. I was literally start a conversation with him in the first place to ask about the situation between him and Lex that happened 3 months ago and if he was okay. No, I've never been told to keep anything secret. Lex wouldn't know of this because She didn't want to look at the DMs and felt like saying nonsense instead. I've had many online acquaintances that are adults, and there's definitely a difference in adults actively seeking out kids to talk to, and an adult and the kid who end up talking due to similar circumstance. That is true, okay? I can vouch from a point of, personal experience, okay? I did play video games with adults when I was a kid online or whatever, and um, in hindsight, now that I'm an adult, it's like something I personally wouldn't do because like I find because like I personally like hate children and find them to be like very annoying. Um but in hindsight, like I don't think it was like a problem. My camera is misaligned. Okay, you guys, I'm gonna go check the mirror, and when I get back, if there isn't a smudge on my shirt, if my nose isn't falling off, and there's not something on my eyeball, you're all getting banned and not buzzing. All right? All right, time to ban literally everybody. Who said it? Who said it? I'm taking names. Who said it? Who said it? Who said it? Not you. Not you. You didn't say it. Okay, this is I can't anymore. I seriously I can't do it. I can't deal with this today. I can't. This is it. This is my final stream. Okay. This is my reckoning. I quit. This is my resignation. Bias and portrayals. You acknowledge having a bias in your artwork, which is okay. I'm not arguing with a 14-year-old. You apparently were totally okay with doing that on Discord. I know how it feels. I used to defend him too until I had to defend myself from him. I hope you have a good day. Okay, so I assume Lex will not be doing an interview with me. She's like obsessed. Aiden, you're muted. Can you unmute? No. Nope. You just have to read my lips. You just have to read my lips. All right. So we have. So that's BPD Lex, everybody. I got sent a folder. I have to say, I don't even know anymore, dude. I've been thinking about doing like a full history of Lex, and I would just be like it would be a combination of like recorded commentary and my streams. All right. Bookmarks. Dude, there's so much going on. Oh, this video is going okay. This is like the second time I've seen a video like this, and I just like I don't understand why this okay, I don't understand why this is being encouraged. So let's check this out. She has a whole TikTok dedicated to this, like how to feel safe at home. Place big men's shoes in front of the door to make it look like a man is there. Hang up a do not disturb sign. Cover the people with a tissue. Lock the door. Use an extra portable lock. For extra... wait, just so you know, the door already has 2 locks on it. The door already has 2 locks on it. If anything, I would trust, like, if the other lock could potentially compromise the... I doubt it would. But, like, if this lock... I mean, who do you think's throwing himself against the door? Who do you think's throwing himself against the door? The fucking Hulk? If these 2 locks will not hold for some 500-pound maniac throwing himself against the door, then this, like, flimsy piece of metal is not going to hold. And then you just scared me into another seizure with that alarm? Are you serious? Are you serious? But anyways, like, this flimsy piece of metal, and then this ironing thing also is not gonna, this ironing board is not gonna fucking protect you. This is like, I get it, okay? I get it. I have many women that watch me, okay? I get it, ladies. You're traveling alone. Yes, there are guys out there that have nefarious... women can be predators too. I have yet to hear of a case of like a woman like breaking into a hotel room and raping another woman. I know women can be murderers, predators, but it's a very different kind. But anyways, I know that there are men out there on the prowl, trying to rape, trying to attack, trying to kill. I get it, okay? But you just... there's like safety precautions you can take that are... when you're going to this extent, with the odds of that happening to you in a nice this looks like a nice hotel. This doesn't look like some... I get it if you were staying in some like seedy like fucking Motel 6 downtown or whatever. This looks like a nice hotel. This looks like it's like some sort of paranoid mental illness or something. Yeah, I mean, she's like checking for cameras in the... this is like potentially like schizophrenia. This is schizophrenia. Checking out the... just close the curtains. Just close the curtains. This is... this is like... and this is like the 3rd time I've seen a video from her, and it's actually kind of making me angry. Because this... she's totally delusional. She's like completely delusional. You're in a nice hotel with 2 locks. 2 locks, one of which is quite literally impossible to pick. Okay, and even if you just want to add your little extra safety lock, whatever. But even with those 3 locks, you still need to add an ironing board onto the door, put male shoes outside in the... first of all, I've never seen like anyone do that. Like leave their shoes in the hotel hallway. I've never seen like anyone do that. If anything, like, that's gonna, like, be a target for your room, or just the shoes are just gonna get stolen. You're just gonna keep having to buy new shoes. But this is, like, schizophrenia. And then she... oh, my DMs are leaked. My DMs are leaked. All my DMs that you've seen are leaked. I hate this. Hit the follow button while you're here. What are we following you for, Danny? What are we following you for? You haven't done anything. This is somebody else's video where you just said... she's actually so smart for this. You don't need to be smart to buy these things and do these things. Who's she hiding from? The FBI? It's as if they think we don't remember that they chose the bear. Okay, good one. Elon Musk's ex, ladies and gentlemen. Anyways, this is just like platforming paranoia. Like at this point, you're totally delusional. So in the suggested topics, this brings me back to a long stated... this is a long debate, okay? A long debate. It's in my recommended. So I think both sides are coping here. okay? Obviously. Obviously, I am not a fan of Hitler, okay? But you have to separate the art from the artist, okay? If we take this is the main problem with Hitler's art, okay? And the thing is, like, he demonstrates in his art somebody with genuine artistic talent that lacks formal training because the shading and like the attention to detail, etc., are very good. The problem is his art compared to the students he was probably competing against in Vienna, one of the most artistic cities in Europe at the time. I mean, you'd like the best of the best there that he'd be going against, right? His perspective is totally off. And it's not so off to where it's like easily apparent to the eye, but as you like look, something feels sort of off about the building. And then you realize like there's no aligned vanishing point that his buildings are going towards. So even though I think almost every element is good, the vanishing point or the lack of like perspective shows, mediocrity, right? But then what's the point of going to an art academy if not to improve on that mediocrity? So personally, I understand but don't necessarily, if I put myself in my shoes at that time, I think he probably should have got in to the art school without knowing what I know now. Now I definitely think he should have gotten to the art school, but in hindsight, I would say yeah, he probably should have got in. But his art is like it's promising. The art is promising. It's not great, but it is promising. To say that this is shit is like total cope. It's promising. Then we go to this famous Jewish painting. So instead of just like comparing it to modern art, instead of just like comparing it to modern art, he purposely picked like the worst Jewish artist like ever. And yeah, this is shit. Total like garbage. Aiden, he couldn't afford it. He did get in. No, he got in. No, I know this very well. Okay, he got in. He got in his first exam. No, because he was living. This was in. He was living off of a pension from his father who had died. He got in after his first. He passed the first exam but failed the second, and he got rejected. I don't personally like this kind of art, right? I think it's kind of dog shit. But like the original poster is obviously trying to like purport some like sort of narrative that like
AIDS gang represent,
first
okay?
dono of the night, let's go.
Did you buy Quake 4 yet?
I didn't. Navakvo with $5 fucking, ladies and gentlemen, our first dono of the night. Appreciated as promised. Hello Navakvo, what's up? How's it going, best friend? This guy used to be obsessed with Hitler back when he was a Nazi. No, I've done extensive research on authoritarian leaders. It used to be a interesting because like it was the concept. The concept of like evil, I guess, as you would say. I think it's like that's like a very like reductionist term. But like the concept of evil used to be like something that was like really interesting to me to go look. It's kind of like with true crime or whatever. Like people are into that stuff. And it's like what got somebody to the point of like being a normal person to like being the like, being what they became, right? So I know a lot about Stalin, I know a lot about Hitler, I know a lot about Tito. Tito's not as bad. I know a lot about Franco, I know a lot about some South American dictators. I know about yeah, North Korea, Kim Jong Un, Kim Jong Il, Kim Il Sung. Yeah, okay, we're going back. We're going back. We're going back to the Aiden had a Nazi arc phase. That never happened. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, that never happened. They calmed for years. Nick told people that I went on the kill stream, had a Nazi phase. They combed through that whole stream, and this is the best clip they got. This is the clip they say that proved I used to be a Nazi. It never happened. Where is it? All right, this is the clip, ladies and gentlemen.
You're not supposed
Where? Fuck.
to run over protesters.
It's not protesting. You're blocking a roadway. You're blocking emergency vehicles.
Yep.
So, okay. Do I stand by this take? Yes. Does this take make me a neo-Nazi? No. For those of you that don't know, at this exact same point in time, I was a supporter and still am, and you could go to my main account and see tweets from back then. I was a supporter of the BLM protests. Not the obviously, not the fucking riots, not the people exploiting, not the people exploiting the protests like they do with many protests to have personal gain, whether that be looting, conning, etc., etc. Um, but obviously back then at that point in time, I was the farthest right I ever went, and I regret it every day of my life, was prior to the January 6th the erection, prior to the January 6th erection at the Capitol. I was a conservative. Did I know anything about politics? Absolutely not. I knew absolutely nothing about politics. So I should have never said anything, but you were I never was I offered money for somebody to find a comment of me like ever proclaiming myself as a fascist, a neo-Nazi, etc., etc. All right, I've offered money, and it's been like how long, and nobody's come forward with it. Nobody's come forward with it. This is the big lie. Okay, this is like the big lie in action.
AIDS gang represent, okay?
When are we waging war against Mr. Lips AG4L?
Sardino with the $5. Ladies and gentlemen, 1/10 of the way to goal. Sardino, hi, hello, what is up? My second best friend. We are waging war. Not yet. We bide our time. That clip you played is proof enough, lil bro. No. I stand by that. If you're in the roadways, blocking police cars, ambulances, etc., on purpose, honestly, I could not care if you got fucking mowed down by a car. I just like, it is the most annoying form of protest that achieves nothing except get everyone to laugh at your movement. Okay, the fucking Just Stop Oil people did it, and they're just like totally insufferable. It's like, we're inconveniencing your life. We're like inconveniencing your fucking life for our movement. No, I'm not a bootlicker. Wait, do you really think protesters blocking the road just affects police officers? Do you really think that? Okay, I'll put it to you this way so you fucking libtards can understand. Let's say there is a woman. She is being brutally raped downtown. And this is a major city, so there's a very big possibility of that happening. A pedestrian sees what's going on and calls the cops. Luckily, the cops are on their way while the rape is still in progress. And the protesters are blocking the road. Let's say you're an omnipotent being, you know everything. Would you be okay if that cop car keeps driving into the crowd? It's not driving at a high rate of speed. But just enough where it's like literally pushing them out of the way. And yeah, it's gonna fucking hurt. Feet are gonna get crushed. Feet are gonna get run over. No, it's not a false equivalency because we don't know what these cops were going to. We don't know. They had no way of knowing where these cops were going. I think all the Years of Destiny content is okay. Anybody who wants to like ever, it's funny because everybody in chat always like disagrees with my takes, and I know that many of you don't actually disagree. You just like it when I get riled up. Okay, sometimes I give you what you want, right? It's funny how everybody disagrees with my takes, and then I have a call-ins line in my server, which is always linked, posted by Nightbot every 5 minutes, and nobody ever calls in to actually seriously debate or discuss any of my proclaimed positions. Where are they? Anyways. Cope? That's cope? Okay, yeah, that's cope. No, the cope is, sorry, man, I'm busy. Sorry, I have work tomorrow. Sorry, my baby's crying. Sorry, my wife's in the hospital. Can't call in tonight. That's cope. Oh, this is a... I did not mean to click on this tweet. It seems Keffels has not been keeping up with the Who posted this?
Cunny coded? What? I am so cunny coded. What is that?
Oh my god, dude. Lumpy Willy in chat with Are you serious? Do I have higher viewership than Keffels? Dude, I get a high... I realized that I like to think of all these people as like bigger streamers. I get higher viewership than Frogan and It's such a big accomplishment. Mom, I get higher viewership than Frogan. God, I wish I had an abortion. She didn't say that. That's not what she said.
Me and now I'm googling cunny. Noun, a woman's genitals. Women in general considered sexual is. I feel like that's not what that means.
That is not what that means. Dude, Lumpy Willy won. Lumpy Willy totally won. My PR manager. All right. Well, for those of you that don't know, Gilded Poo, the guy, for those of you who don't remember, he was the guy. Didn't he call for, wasn't he on my stream calling for like all drugs to be legalized when we were having the legality of lolicon debate? I don't know why I was so desperate. I was so desperate to debate. I was like, let's start debating. Let's start debating like the legality of lolicon, which by the way, I stand by. I stand by my legal opinions of it. I'm not going to defend my personal opinions, such as finding it disgusting, because that's not really something you can debate. Yeah, that's the guy's name. That's the guy's name. But he called in.
So does anybody remember that
No, I know lolly's not a drug. You could just go watch the debate.
painfully stereotypical Asian?
My shitty lolly, I debated lolly for 1 day. And I still, by the way, I still stand by my takes, but I just realized that by debating the legality of it, what I was going to do is lead people to the false opinion that I'm a lolly defender and give a safe place for lolicons in my community, which is not what I want ever, right? So it was totally like nobody was benefiting from a debate like this.
Guy that went by Duck on the radio.
Oh, golly!
Yeah, turns out he's a pedophile, by the way.
Something tells me this guy might be a conservative, which this JPM guy who I met on Verbal Combat said he would debate the Trump deportation, so I'll try and have him on one night.
Way. You see,
AIDS
I'm one of
gang
very few people.
represent, okay?
Yo. I can't read your name. Can I read your Keffels is a real blank. Shout out to her and her crack-addicted girlfriend. Do you think she'll let... Okay, I can't read... I'm sorry. That's TOS. That's TOS. Sorry, buddy. That's TOS. But I appreciate your dono. Something lover and then a series of 4 numbers that I can't say.
people that'll actually tell you that. For some weird reason, there's a lot of people that are covering this that have never said that. They won't say those words. There's a lot of things
Right.
they're actually not saying. Not only what they're not saying, but what they're not thinking. You see, I'm one of very few people that'll actually tell you that. For some weird reason, there's a lot of people that are covering this that have never said that. They won't say those.
Wait, fuck. Say what?
So does anybody remember that painfully stereotypical Asian guy that went by Doc on the radio?
Wow. Golly.
Wait, hold on. What is like besides him being Asian, what is like a stereotype about Doc? Haha, did you know Doc is Asian? Dude, that's like the biggest test for like somebody's like intelligence and like level of comedy, if they're a comedy male or not. If they see Doc and the first joke is about him being Chinese, you just know they're unfunny. You know they're insanely unfunny. Like, what is stereotypical? He's just an Asian guy. I don't understand.
Yeah, turns out he's a pedophile, by the way. You see, I'm one of very few people that'll actually tell you that. For some weird reason, there's a lot of people that are covering this that have never said that. They won't say those words. There's a lot of...
I didn't say those words. I didn't say those words because I simply put, a pedophile is one of the worst things you can be branded, and for very good reason. But a pedophile is one of, because it is associated with the sexual activity with children, right? So if you're labeled a pedophile, we're essentially saying, and people can be like, well, you can still be a pedophile without acting on it. Sure, theoretically, I've spoken about this, but then we wouldn't really know, right? Because I don't know like too many pedophiles that are going and like telling people they're unless you're like a lolicon. I don't know too many pedophiles that are like telling people they're pedophiles without us figuring out after they've committed some sort of sex crime. But that is one of the worst things you can be labeled, and I'm very hesitant to use that without enough information. Now, what we've established is Doc had an online relationship with a 13-year-old at the age of 17. Now what I want to know is, what is the nature of their relationship? Because he stated no nudes were exchanged. Okay, was there sexual dialogue? Was there any form of sexting? Were you making sexual comments to each other? What about this encompassed a relationship? So what I can definitively tell you is it's insanely inappropriate, right? Obviously a disgusting like age gap and dynamic, but to take it to the level of pedophilia, which is something, by the way, that is forever. If you are a pedophile, you're always a pedophile. It's a paraphilia. To my knowledge, there is no cure, besides maybe like chemical castration, there is no cure for a paraphilia. So then, for me to take it to that level, which would then be me saying he is potentially a present danger to children, I would need to see the nature of their interactions with each other. I haven't seen that. So I'm not okay with taking it to that level yet.
of things they're actually not saying. Not only what they're not saying, but what they're not thinking. For example, we're supposed to believe that whenever Doc on the radio was trying to date a 13-year-old at 17 years of age on the internet, that he never at any point sent any nudes to that 13-year-old at any point ever.
Kitty, you're on the air.
Whoa, okay.
It's Kitty, dude.
Who the fuck is Kitty? Is that your girlfriend,
That's
dog?
cringe.
I hate Discord. She's a Discord kitty. I hate her.
You're like my moderator
Just
back
call
in
me-
like.
call me Cat.
You were like my mod back like 3 years ago in my old server, weren't you?
Dude, we've known each other since like 2017. I was 13 and you were like 17.
Whoa!
Flying something? Hold on.
Hold on,
She's
Kitty.
a
Kitty,
Discord.
I gotta ask you
No
a
Discord.
question.
Her name is
Do you have
Kitty.
that? Hold on. Hold on, guys.
How old are you now?
Yes, there is. Therapy exists. Okay, Lumpy's obviously trying to one guy. No, it does not seem like therapy can cure pedophilia.
I'm gonna be 18. I'm 17 right now. I'm gonna be 18 in
Oh,
June.
thank God. Okay, I thought I was about to get like absolutely
Wait.
destroyed.
Good job, Doc. You waited until they were legal.
Wait, oh no, I'm making fucking extra
Exactly.
jokes about minors. Oh no, I'm screwed.
Okay, Smack. For the record, I have never shown anything. I've never shown my penis on Discord.
What?
Yeah, I just totally buy that. Just fucking wholesale believe it. But more importantly than that,
Okay, when he's saying that, he's implying he doesn't believe it. No, it's totally plausible that a borderline insane Christian it's not, I wouldn't say, okay, I have a bias against like ultra religious people. And people are like, well, they use that to cover their like improprieties. Well, okay. In Doc's case, it was definitely, even in private, right? This guy, he was like very, 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 very fucking like religious against like, to the point where, yeah, you could say it was like against like your stereotypical like trad. He wasn't a trad Cath. I don't think he was Catholic, but he was very, very, very fucking religious. I think it's totally plausible that some terminally online loser, who's like insanely religious, could be in what he labels a relationship without sending nude images, right? That doesn't make it not inappropriate, but we need some like, we literally know almost nothing about what happened between the two of them. So I don't know like what basis you have for like already putting it into the audience's mind that he probably sent nude images.
we're also not supposed to ask the simple question of, wait, he never said anything about receiving nudes.
Well, that's
so did he
true.
receive them? I don't know. Don't ever speculate anything. Don't ask too many questions.
Didn't Toastify ask that? And like, well, that's true. No, that is a good point.
Just consume
That is a good point, but like he probably just thought that entailed, because what did he say in the Toastify call?
the slop, I suppose. And if for some weird reason you don't believe any of that, here's him admitting
AIDS gang
it.
represent, okay?
Yo.
Shout out to Doc and Jake Weddle for bagging some hot child brides. I
Okay.
bet Tommy C is so jealous he has to deal with his bloated wife while these two guys have brand new toys to play with.
Okay, that's disgusting. Obviously disavow, but I thank you for the $3.
Spread as follows. So I dated a girl when I was 17 and she was 13. Nothing sexual ever happened, and the relationship ended officially after
Okay, so if he's saying nothing sexual ever happened, obviously the implication of that as well is that no nudes were received either. Retard. What do you think? Do you not think receiving nudes counts as something sexual? Do you not think that counts as like something sexual?
turned 18. I've said that I would never do that again, and it was stupid for me to do that.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I'll just be honest. Like, yeah, I obviously wouldn't do that again. The relationship.
But as you may have noticed by reading the title of the video, this video is not about Doc on the radio. It's about Toastify and the fact that the call that you just heard was recorded on March 3rd.
Yes, I saw the Tommy C clip where he cries about Queeman. It's like the most like non-tent, like it was funny to laugh at for a second. Okay, I'm not nearly as interested in this guy as you are.
2024, a year and 3 days previous to that call's upload to the internet. Toastify actually sat there for an entire fucking year on this information and said nothing to anybody with exception to some content creators behind the scenes, thereby giving a giant fat fuck you to his entire audience. But not just his audience, the audience he shares amongst the incestuous...
How long ago did Doc quit? How long ago did Doc quit? I mean, I just, like, I understand if the position is, like, yeah, I don't want to come forward without, like, the person involved or whatever. Like, I understand the not coming forward with that. But if he did it before Doc left and continued to work with him in a professional capacity, you could say there was some sweeping. But, like, I don't even think that's true. This sounds, like, really stupid. Yeah. This gilded poo guy's most moronic loser in the world sat cowering in a Discord VC bitching while I ripped the fuck out of his videos and called him a terrible parent to his retarded kid. Wait, did you debate his kid? No, he is really stupid. I had a, I remember, yeah, he doesn't like you. I debated with him. I had a debate with him. It was very insufferable. Actually, one of the few debates I think I would turn down again. I do it just so it doesn't look like I'm running, but like I turn it down just because it never stopped. I kept trying to like give them the hint, man, we've been going 2 hours. You're not like the main thing going. And I felt like almost sick from how long we were debating.
This community that he takes part in. It's really crazy that this
Thank you, Voltage Mike. Much appreciated.
person, in my opinion, would hold on to that information for a year when his entire brand is, quote, documenting degeneracy. I mean, that's literally what he wrote in his fucking YouTube banner. It's right there. But what's even more funny than that is this is the same guy that made an entire video lecturing the internet on the ethical way of discussing degenerates online. Somebody who sits there and lectures me on ethics seems to be doing a very terrible
Well, let's look at what he sat on. A 17-year-old and a 13-year-old had a relationship online, like 5 years ago, 6 years ago. What that entails, I have no idea. I know nothing sexual happened. I know I'm not okay with this age gap, as most should not be. And this guy, who originally wasn't even that big to begin with, is now totally offline, and I don't have the consent of the victim to come forward about this, right? This is from Toastify's perspective. Then yeah, I could totally understand why he wouldn't put this out for over a year. The problem I have is that that's not what Toastify like necessarily believed. It seemed to me like Toastify did, whether he says it or not, to some extent, think that Doc was some sort of pedophile for this. And if that's true, and when he put in his document, well, the victim didn't feel like anything wrong happened or whatever, I think that's retarded logic. I think that's like really dumb logic, because like if you actually think an act of like pedophilia or some sort of super predatory age gap is occurring, the feelings of the younger party, whether they feel it was wrong or not, is going to be totally irrelevant to how wrong you feel that it like that doesn't change like your assessment of the situation. And that's why grooming exists, because the perpetrator is trying to get the victim to, I'm not saying Doc did that, I'm saying in general, and based on what I think Toastify believed, the perpetrator is trying to get the victim to a point where they can consent to sexual acts. So if you believe that some form of grooming had occurred, why would the victim's assessment of whether or not it was wrong affect your judgment of it?
Job of documenting degeneracy on the internet, given the fact that
it's a genuine question. Like I'm not like totally grilling the guy. Obviously a lot of my gripes with Toastify's document was because I was personally slighted and I thought it was an unnecessary document. But like,
and they held on to that information from March 3rd of 2024 and didn't say a goddamn thing publicly until March 6th, 2025. That's kind of a problem. I'm just saying, okay? Why would he do that?
If he brings me up by name and defends me, then I'll say this is a base video. It's obviously not a base video. He's making conclusions that are just not supported by like any premises. He's just saying, he's just outright saying, yeah, I'm sure no nudes were sent, which is making the statement that nudes were sent, because you're, you know, saying it sarcastically, implying the opposite. And then when Doc says I didn't send any nudes, or no nudes were sent, I didn't send any nudes to her, he's like, oh well, that doesn't mean you didn't receive any nudes, even though there's a follow-up message showed in his own video where Doc says nothing sexual happened. And obviously, receiving nudes would fall under the nothing sexual happened. Now, do we believe Doc? No, I'm not saying we do. But if we're going to make a claim that he received nudes with no basis, we do need some basis for that. And until we have basis for that, and I'm not saying we need to see, I'm not saying, no, the basis would be her claiming that and him admitting to that.
Why would he put more effort into a commentary Bible?
This was pathetic. This is like we read this once. I didn't even realize, remember how I said like Toastify's like whole life is commentary? I forgot he's the one that made this. So like now my previous comments, they like double stand. This is like the most pathetic thing ever.
Then discussing how a friend of his is a pedophile. And another really good question that is in the same vein as that one is, why is it, on top of not really saying anything publicly for a year, that the people he did tell about it behind the scenes, he also told to not say anything at all about it publicly? Something he makes very clear in his document.
I want to make this very clear. No one knew of this until I asked Doc. None of his closest co-hosts or YouTubers he was affiliated with knew of what happened, and only found out when I got the information from Doc and informed them. Those in the clip where Kitty calls in presumed the whole thing to be a joke, much like the audience had perceived it. I also asked people who I told to specifically keep this information private.
Wait, hold on. What did he just say? Wait.
Or YouTubers he was affiliated with knew of what happened and only found out when I got the information from Doc and informed them.
When did he get the information from Doc? When did he get the... That's not true. That's not true. That's not true. Is this why people think I held on to the Doc stuff for a year? Is this why people think I held on to... When did he message Doc? Can somebody find out the date he messaged Doc? That's not true at all. How did I miss this? That's not true.
So does anybody remember that painful...
To be honest, he could have just misspoke, but that was a pretty big misspeak. If, today? No, that's from the recording of the call. I want to see... What's the date? Oh my, why is it all... At least put some like Hoi 4 gameplay. It's just like a black screen for the whole... Oh my god, dude, where is the... Okay. Is this guy like actually retarded? Is this guy like fucking retarded? No wonder people thought I held on to it for a year. Sure, he might have clarified later on. I didn't know until like what, 2-3 months ago about any of this? It was about like 3 months ago, right? I don't know the exact date. I was not told about this till 3 months ago. It took me about like a month before I leaked it, even though I didn't think I was leaking it on that one live stream. I just thought I was bringing it to greater light because nobody knew about it or whatever, but it was still public and not widely known. That was only like 2 to 3 months after, or a month after I knew. That was 2 to 3 months ago, right? No wonder people thought I held on to this for a year. Toastify didn't tell me this until 2 to 3 months ago. I came out with it a month later. He spoke to Doc in November. This was over a year later since these messages did I find out about this. So what do you mean so it makes it sound like you told me after you received these messages. What?
All about it publicly. Something he makes very clear in his document.
I want to make this very clear. No one knew of this until I asked Doc. None of his closest co-hosts or YouTubers he was affiliated with knew of what happened, and only found out when I got the information from Doc.
Only found out when I got the information from Doc. Doesn't that sound... I know he's not saying it outright. Doesn't that sound like the YouTubers that knew were only told, like, only told like right after he heard from Doc in November of 2024? Is that not what that sounds like? Is that not what that sounds like? No wonder this one retard wanted to come on here and debate me for covering up something I knew for 3 months. No, 1 month, because I leaked something, covering up something I knew about for a month. Claiming I had swept for a year about this thing I only knew about for a month.
And informed them. Those in the clip where Kitty calls in presumed the whole thing to be a joke, much like the audience.
Yeah.
audience had perceived it. I also asked people who I told to specifically keep this information private.
You need to have a damn good reason to justify saying nothing for a year straight after receiving a confession like that, in addition to telling all of these people.
Wait.
So you saw the thumbnail, presumably read the title, and
this guy was at the January 6th erection. He was there. He was there.
Just gonna jump right into it. Mudahar is a liar, a fraud, and even a scammer. And on the off chance you have absolutely no idea who Mudahar is because you've been buried underneath a rock for the entirety of your existence, Mudahar is a YouTuber with almost 4 million subscribers that spends a lot of his time talking about things like scams and also moral posting on the internet about how bad people exist and that you should be horrified or something. The scamming videos we're gonna get into in a little bit, but more importantly than that, the moral posting is a little weird, especially when he's talking about predators. And the reason that's really fucking weird is because Mudahar is a fucking Muslim. One of the core tenets of being...
Wait, oh my god, I did not think it was gonna go there. That is not where I thought it was gonna go. I was not expecting that at all.
Muslim is you have to venerate Muhammad. Muhammad is the prophet that, how do I put this? Married a 6-year-old and then waited until she was around 9 or 10 years old to fuck her, aka consummating the marriage. In other words, the prophet Muhammad, that looks like this by the way, married a
okay, good one.
6-year-old and then 3.
Oh my god, Quinn, are you trying to get me murdered? Is that your goal, to try and get me fucking killed?
Years later, had sex with that 6-year-old before that 6-year-old could even get out of puberty. He is Muslim.
To clarify for anybody that may be watching this and is very offended by what they just saw. Alright, I know, technically, isn't it like not in the Quran or Hadiths that you cannot show the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, right? Isn't that just like a custom or tradition? There's nothing official that states it must be done. But I didn't know he was going to show him, okay? I didn't know.
Muslim and is venerating that, while simultaneously on YouTube whining incessantly about predators when he venerates, quite literally, a predator. And before, a lot of you people cope and you try to say some cringe BS like, oh well, child marriages were very common in the medieval period. In the West, the only portion of the entire planet that fucking matters, they...
Oh my dude. Bro. Dude. I knew the guy was retarded. I didn't think he was like this retarded. Yes, okay. I'm not. It seems like, sure, there is like a general scholarly consensus that Aisha was a modern day, what we would consider modern day minor at the time of her marriage to the Prophet Muhammad. I'm not gonna claim that uncritically because I have not read like the evidence of it, and then there are some scholars that claim that she was actually like older, but that also like might be cope. I need to look into that. But no, you can simultaneously be a Muslim, especially for a lot of people are Muslims for the same reason a lot of people are Christians or Jews. Their parents are, and it's more of like a cultural thing to them than like than anything like religious. But you can absolutely be a Muslim without believing that the Prophet Muhammad should have, or actually even did, marry a 6-year-old. Those two things are not like you can, like, what? Medieval marriages were not much better than Muhammad. Well, that's exactly, right? I'm not justifying it, but like people do like to focus on this, but wasn't like, what's her fucking name? Rebecca. Like, how old was she when she married, who'd she marry? She married Isaac? How old? What was the age gap there? What was the age gap? Anyways.
At least had the courtesy to wait until those girls finished out puberty. No, Muhammad's just like, I like him young. But it isn't just the fact that he venerates some dude that fucked a 9-year-old. It's that the entire point of venerating a prophet in a religion is to treat them like your moral guide. They are the moral...
This is such a bad faith argument. But it's his position, really. If you're a Muslim, you must live. You must do everything that I personally believe Muhammad did. Like, is that his position? No, there are plenty of Muslims that venerate this guy. I'd say most, and don't think it's okay to fuck a 9-year-old. That's an insane argument. Yes, okay, I do know that there is that child marriage is quite common in certain Muslim-dominated nations, okay? I'm aware of this fact, okay? That seems to have a lot of bearing in, like, the local culture and, like, a isolation from, like, the developing world, like in Afghanistan, where, like, people don't even know that the Twin Towers collapsed or whatever, because people in, like, isolated villages and shit, so they didn't get with, like, modern progress or outright rejected it. And I don't justify that, by the way. It's obviously that needs to be addressed and stopped. But to claim that, like, somebody can't, like, be against pedophilia by virtue of them, like, believing in the Islamic faith is such a retarded position. Because whenever you have a religion, you're acting like a religion is like one uniform ideology and everybody subscribing to it is subscribing to that one uniform ideology. No, a big portion of Islam is you have people all following different versions of it because they interpret things differently. And one of the things many people interpret differently or either outright ignore, you know, is Muhammad's marriage to Aisha and what her age was at the time, right? No, they don't ignore his marriage to her. Aisha is a very known figure in Islam. But I don't think the age is like, correct me if I'm wrong, it's not really like emphasized in mosques or whatever. It's like when people like to, this is another good example. People will find, like, from the Talmud, and just so you know, right, I don't follow the Jewish religion, so I have no reason to sweep for it, but people will find lines from the Talmud that say some, like, pretty heinous, barbaric, disgusting shit. But if you go to your average Jew and ask them about this line, they're not going to know what you're talking about. Because, first, the Talmud is, like, actually studied and read by, like, the ultra-religious Jews who are, like, a fringe of a fringe. Like, Jews are, like, overwhelmingly secular. And then you have, like, Reform, but to study this absurdly large, useless piece of collection of texts, you have to learn Hebrew, right? Because I don't think there's a full translated English collection. And then you then have to go and study how to read it, because it's not just like physically reading it. It's not like a Bible where it's like it's written. It's like recorded arguments between multiple people, right, talking at the same time, etc., etc. So this is like one of those things where it's like to expect the average follower of a religion to be embracing this thing by virtue of following the religion is retarded.
Compass that you build your entire life around. To put it simply for the autists among you, how am I supposed to believe that Mudahar is truly at all concerned about...
And the Talmud is not the gospel, right, as well. It's not like the things recorded in there are you'll have two conflicting views in there, because I'm pretty sure obviously I can't read Hebrew, so I don't know what it says. I've seen like schizo Twitter graphics, and I know some have been refuted. But correct me if I'm wrong here, is it not like recorded arguments between like rabbinical authorities from like 2,000 years ago or whatever the fuck? It's not like it's like one text, one narrative telling you what to do. It's like recorded arguments.
Online predators, whenever the center point for his morality, the moral compass he builds his entire life around, is quite literally a 6th century predator that he venerates as his prophet. How am I supposed to take him in any way seriously whenever he's supposed to love said prophet pedophile more so than his own father, according to the Quran? And
this is like to reach this conclusion, you're essentially if we're gonna do that, if we're really gonna play this game, if he really wants to go here and play this game, atheists can be the only moral authority on anything. If we're gonna ascribe every like fringe religious text and viewpoint to like any random shitter follower of a religion, atheists can be the only moral authority on anything, because virtually every religion in the fringes of their text says some horrible, horrible, horrible shit and has some horrible, horrible, horrible people in it. If you like actually want to fucking play that game. They're like arguments and legal rulings from throughout history. You're not just meant to follow. Yeah, that's my understanding of what it was. Like people will like, the problem, what I've learned is that when people will go and take quotes from this collection of texts and present it, you're reading it with the understanding that the Talmud is to be read like the Bible. And these are commandments being given for you to do things. That's not how it's meant to be read, right? Because if that were true, there's conflicting viewpoints within it because it's recorded arguments and like legal rulings, etc., right? And the only people that actually read it are like Jews that literally go to school for it from like fringe religious communities who are living in like the Stone Age.
On top of that, by the way, in case any of you are questioning whether or not he's Muslim,
pin enemies in place with suppressive fire. Now, for some of you people who may have picked up, you heard the Allahu Akbar by the actual enemy team, and if somebody...
I'm not sweeping for the Talmud. Wait, people are like, denounce the Talmud. Sure, I'll denounce the Talmud. I'll denounce it. I don't know what it says, but I'll denounce it right here. I denounce it. It's a horrible book, or collection of books. Get a better Bible. It's not the Bible. I don't need to sweep for some book saying a bunch of like shit that like I would hear a homeless like schizo guy say on like the sidewalk. Okay? I have no interest in like sweeping for this collection of texts. It probably says horrible shit in it and more.
Somebody that comes from this culture, you know, Indian Muslim, I would just like to say that
the arguments in the Talmud are meant to elucidate the law, not say maybe it's one way, maybe it's the other, Aiden. No, but how do you think they elucidate it, retard? There were rabbinical courts. If they're just, do you think courts, the purpose of like a court, and I gotta be honest, I'm not super knowledgeable on this area, how rabbinical courts work or whatever, but I'm assuming that this would be a place, because what I know is that like one of the most predominant reason you've like a disproportionate amount of Jewish lawyers is because arguing is like one of the most like common trends you'll see throughout like all of Jewish history. Jews just like love to argue with each other, whatever, right? The courts were there to reach that consensus so that it could be elucidated. So of course you're going to have arguments in a rabbinical court and you'll have recorded contesting opinions.
God is great, like that's literally the translation.
And the reason I bring up all of that shit and went really hard on the paint with the Islam bit and all that stuff is because it ties directly into a stream, actually 2 streams that he had with Chud Logic, where Mudahar just fucking lied to Chud's face.
That was you sweeping for Nux Taku. It's so obvious, dude.
So I'm not here to watch the Muda video. The Muslim point was dog shit. I'd love to debate this guy on it.
If I remember correctly, it was only for a few months, like 4 to 6 maybe. But that might be wrong. That's based on memory. She turned 14.
Yeah, obviously I'm no fan of Islam, but there is like just like blatant slander being like commonly reiterated against your average follower of the religion and what they believe, and I think it's like really, even what the, like when you hear the word Sharia law, what do you think? You think the imposition of like Muslim law forcefully upon everybody, and I don't know. Maybe that was the case in Muhammad's time or whatever the fuck, right? I know he did some very questionable stuff, like to villages or whatever the fuck. But like, no, your average Muslim does not, I think, aren't there some that interpret Sharia law as like the laws for them to follow?
At some point, I believe.
Do you believe you are part of the chosen people? If I don't, I just want to ask you, by the way, What do you think chosen people means, by the way? I need to ask that. But no, I don't, right? Because if I don't believe in the Talmud, why would I believe in like Jewish spirituality and the notion that God is choosing a people? But this is one of those other things, just like with Islam, that gets like taken out of context. They think they're the chosen people. The chosen. What do you think the chosen means there, by the way? You don't know what chosen means. You don't. You actually don't know what chosen means. Okay, it seems like nobody knows. Correct me if I'm wrong again, but is it not? You're like they're like chosen to be the ones to like engage in like certain like laws and to appease God or something. Like isn't it like the official like religious narrative in Judaism that like being a Jew is like an inconvenient thing that like your average person shouldn't want, which is why Jews don't proselytize, because they believe that like as Jews they have like additional responsibilities and laws they need to command to that wouldn't be applicable to Gentiles.
I see. I don't know, man. I don't know why I suppressed this thought for ages, but that really doesn't sit right with me. Even if you were technically both minors, that still feels icky. I mean, I agree with you. I don't know what else to tell you, lol. Yeah, I understand. So you broke up after you turned 18. Why so? Because that's when I realized it was messed up. It was so long ago, but nothing ever came from that. Yeah, I understand.
Chosen people sounds like some sacred group that are better than... If I'm choosing to rape you, and you start saying, he chose me, this guy chose me, I'm choosing to fucking rape you, and then cut off your dick and cut off your head. Okay, I'm choosing you for that. If you go around telling everyone you've been chosen, is the implications of that there's something positive going to happen to you? Is that the implication for you? No, obviously chosen doesn't have a positive fucking connotation. Inherently. It has a neutral one. We then have to go into, what is he being chosen for? I wouldn't want to be chosen to be raped. I don't know about you. I wouldn't want to be chosen. So we have to elaborate, what does chosen mean? What am I being chosen for?
And if you'd like to talk more about it later, that's fine. I need to go now. Alright.
You're fucking retarded. You would be the guy that would choose to be raped because you think being chosen for anything is some, like, good thing.
No worries. Give me some time to collect my thoughts on this. Let me know when you're back. Preferably call if you're free. Probably will be in 3 hours.
Oh, I'm on the wrong video. You're right, I am on the wrong video.
Not to say anything about it publicly. And so, what is the reason, you might be asking? Reason number one, apparently, is he weighed the pros and cons of talking about it publicly and came to the conclusion that it would hurt more people to talk about it than it would hurt Doc.
Yes, and by their belief that they were God's chosen... Okay, so the Jews believe they need to bring forth the Messiah. The Messiah hasn't come yet, right? And to bring forth the Messiah, they must adhere to it is their responsibility. They're chosen by God to be the ones to bring forth the Messiah, and virtue of that is engaging in like strict rules or whatever the fuck, right? And then the difference is the Christians believe that all of that is true, but the Messiah has already come, so all that shit no longer applies, and now the covenant is with the followers of Christ. Yeah. But like, my understanding is not that the Old Testament doesn't say God chose the Jews to be like better than everybody else and nobody else matters. I don't think that's what chosen means. Like, I think that is very misrepresented. The Messiah did... I know that... Or I don't know. I know that's what you believe. That's why I said what they believe. I'm giving you their belief. I'm telling you what Jews believe.
And when I looked over at what putting the information out there would do, the cons outweighed the pros. Doc wasn't going to be active anymore for a long time, it was doubted whether he would even come back years later, so to me there wasn't any chance of a present threat online. This information was thus intended to be released in the event that he came back, something which probably won't happen now. All I would do if I just went straight...
That has nothing to... Isn't that Old Testament? That has nothing to do with the Talmud? What I just talked... That is... We're not even talking about the Talmud anymore. How's that sweeping for it?
Off the bat was possibly harm the victim and the people who used to know him and had no idea that he did this.
Let's autistically break...
Yeah, I think Judaism is a bizarre religion. That's why I don't follow it, right?
down that little diatribe of excuses he just threw at us there. Number one is that he likes to make the claim that Doc
There's a reason I'm a Hindu, okay? Obviously, these are not things I believe.
was no longer a threat and was not expected to return. And a little later in that same vein, he also states that he was not intending to release any of this information until after the victim got back to him or Doc returned, later lamenting that Doc is probably not going to be returning now. That little last bit that I just said will be important a little bit later. However, it's important to note that the claim that Doc was no longer a threat to anybody online is a bold assumption rooted in, checks notes, nothing. The reality is that
I knew that comment. I was waiting for the comment reactions. Yes, there have been people that have been accusing me of dating an Indian. I got accusations of dating an Indian recently because I dare speak out against the global Zog psyops being perpetrated against the Indian people. So I knew if I said that, there would be people like, that's why he's defending them.
That Doc on the Radio did his last stream on February 14th of 2024. And even then, per Toastify's own words, was able to communicate with Doc on Discord 2 weeks later in March.
So to try and settle my concern...
This is just lyrics on an alt? Wait, yeah, whose alt is it? Wait, you make a good point. Show her to us? I'm not dating an Indian. That's why I said I'm not dating anyone. That's why I said allegations. Whose account is this? Go to channel. Account created in 2016.
And once for all, I decided to message Doc. By this point, he had already quit streaming.
Meaning that even though he's no longer making YouTube videos, that doesn't mean he's no longer a fucking threat. There's a great, almost one-to-one example of somebody named Hypnotist Sappho who was effectively bullied off of fucking YouTube, and despite that, now exists in a Telegram group where they continue to groom children. Toastify.
Wait, so... Okay, so then what is the goal? What do you want him to do? If we're exposing him in an online presence, unless you're calling for Toastify to dox him, this would have no... Presuming Doc is a threat, who's he gonna go groom? Real kids, or whatever, right? Under your logic. Then there wouldn't really be a big effect or prevention of that by Toastify making a video on it. Now, if you think Doc has done something illegal... That would be how you stop him, by reporting him. But we have no indication he's done anything that's illegal, right? We have no indication that any behavior he's done is illegal. And I don't know what the situation of this Sappho guy, or whatever the fuck his name is, what his situation is. But like, dude, this guy did this in my debate. I mean, this is like how conservatives think. They think like examples just always carry over, like, I know this one situation where this thing happened. They think, like, they don't need statistics, or, like, they're okay with turning anecdotes or individual examples into, like, broad generalizations. Because they know, I know a situation where...
If I knows this person, I know he knows this person, because I know...
I'm not a conservative, I'm a libertarian.
He watches Turkey Tom because he's a fucking Turkey Tom clone. And now to the second point, where he says that he didn't want to release the documents because he might hurt the victim. How? The only way I could think of that it could at all possibly hurt the victim in any way whatsoever is by releasing that information. Doc on the Radio then decides to harass the victim. But
what if the victim just doesn't want attention on her, or to be, assuming you want this to get out there and people to cover it, people are going to be reaching out to her, scrutinizing her online activity. What if she's not a public figure? What if she just doesn't want that attention? Is that not a good enough reason for you? If you want to, the only way to prevent if you believe Doc is a future threat to children, which is the implication of your video, the only way to stop that would not be Toastify making a video, which would almost certainly not, if you wanted to go out and hurt real kids in the real world, would not be able to stop him. It would be to report him to authorities because you thought he did something illegal. Obviously, you don't believe he did anything illegal, nor do I. So at that point, if he wants to harm kids, he's going to do it, right? Toastify making a video or not isn't going to affect that.
The problem is, per Toastify's own words, Doc on the radio was no longer an active threat to anybody online. I guess it is possible, if I want to be charitable, that other people that are fans of Doc might then take it upon themselves to harass the victim. I suppose, but that solution is simple. Just get a new Discord.
And then cut off all your other online friends in the process. You know, like, you really don't think if people want to, they'll be able to figure out your new Discord. You have to like live in like the dark or whatever the fuck.
Get a new Twitter. I mean, people do it all the time. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, that's the easiest thing to prevent is cyberbullying. Like, I don't know what to say. Like, what? And in the third statement in this diatribe of excuses, he also states that he, by releasing all this information too early, would hurt all the people closest to Doc that didn't know what he did. And as noble as that sounds, I want to know exactly what you mean by that, because that statement is rather vague. Well, thankfully, the giant pussy that he is decided to, I guess, answer this question in a mod chat that only mods can read and nobody else. In a server
Gilded Poo has ops
that I'm not gonna name at this time. And in a nutshell,
okay, I'm sorry, I can't. All right, I can't. This is why I said I'm quitting commentary. This is like unbelievably boring. I have something way better. We're gonna check out. I don't know if you guys are getting bored of this. This guy's a fucking retard. I'm getting really bored of this. I'm totally skipping it. So, sorry. You could go complain to somebody who will cover it. That is not me. God. So boring. Oh my god, it's insanely boring. Fuck, dude.
As they dig.
So I found this video, and this is actually from a year ago, but it got uploaded 6 months ago, and I thought this would be interesting to check out because the body cam footage got released. This woman wanted attention online, so she faked a kidnapping. She's a wannabe momfluencer. And the thing is, I think there needs to be laws protecting children who are used for the production of YouTube material, because time and time again, and I know there are laws preventing child abuse already, and this falls under that category, but this would disincentivize the abuse to begin with, to maybe prevent or create it so people have to get a license to use. I actually know. I would say like the family vlog shit really just like rubs me the wrong way. The reason being, right, the children have no say in it, and their entire lives are lived through the internet. And it's like now that when they're adults, they have no say in like undoing that, every mistake, every bad moment, etc., etc. And they become the apparatus for the family to make money. So then it becomes like this unnecessary pressure on them while navigating childhood and growing up. Nothing wrong. That's Queeman. That's Queeman. That's Queeman. You're using the wrong profile picture, lol, bro. You're using the wrong... Nice alt. When was your channel made? Ah, March 20th, 2025. Good one. Oh, that's not Queeman. I thought you made an alt, because the alt that I harass you with is in my chat. I don't know if I'm going to take like a hard stance on this, right? I could revise it. This isn't really like super thought through, but I just see like so many negatives to like incentivizing the use of like kids to make money online. And then it's like, oh, well then why not? Why would this not follow over to child actors? Well, for child actors, don't we have things like Coogan's Law so that the parents actually can't be relying on the kids for profit because the children's money is protected that they make through performance? But like there was a case of a woman who was literally adopting foster kids to perform for insane hours in videos. People homeschooling kids to have them in vlog channel. You have Daddy05, you have Ruby Frankie, and you could argue a lot of Ruby Frankie's case is horrible because she did a bunch of fucked up shit and like went through a bunch of personal, besides the egregious abuse and concentration camp conditions she put her children through behind the scenes after she quit. At the time, I followed her before the child abuse shit, before the child abuse went public. I was following her case because I was very disturbed by her presence online and the methods she employed to parent. but she recorded very intimate personal moments with her kids that shouldn't have never, like, those are moments that shouldn't be online. And just like living, it just strikes me, you get what I'm saying here, it just strikes me the wrong way.
Police, you're reporting an emergency?
I suppose so, yes.
What are you reporting?
I was just at the Michaels here in Petaluma, and a couple tried to kidnap my children.
What the best description you can recall?
I mean this in the nice, they're just kind of rough looking.
Are you or your husband, I mean, like, important?
This is the first body cam video I've seen from California. They're like all from Florida for some reason.
People, for some reason,
I think
is there
it's easier
something
to request
where
from there.
like, we're going to take your kids and hold them to ransom?
I
Or...
might be my kids are very good looking. I don't know. It's hard. I want to like...
For somebody whose kids, like, got kidnapped, or they attempted to kidnap them, it's a very strange comment to make.
I really do want to be 100% sure, because I do not want to falsely... anything. I don't want to misrepresent what has happened. I do think it's important for parents to be aware, but I don't, like, it makes me a little uneasy that you guys are getting blown up about this.
Katie Sorensen, an aspiring momfluencer, calls 911 to report every parent's worst nightmare. As her follower count skyrockets, the community grows outraged, and investigators...
Never seen this game before? Oh, it's Hoi 4. I don't know if you've ever seen it. She's very jolly about this. Yeah, that was...
are placed under immense pressure to quickly solve the case. But as they dig further into the investigation,
here?
they soon find that something...
Do you guys care? I don't know. Does it look better up here?
...isn't quite right with Katie's story. And what they discover turns out to be almost as shocking as the report itself. On December 14th, 2020, in Petaluma, California, Katie Sorensen made this call to 911.
Police, you're reporting an emergency?
I suppose so, yes.
What are you reporting?
I was just at the Michaels here in Petaluma,
Put it
and
over
a
your
couple
cam.
tried to kidnap my children.
Tell me exactly what...
A couple? So normally, like, I'm not saying it's impossible, but for those of you that don't know, I think the stranger danger shit has, like, done way more harm than good. To be honest, at points, like making, like, your kids, like, scared of just, like, talking to people or whatever, right? Obviously, your kids shouldn't be talking to random people, but, like, nowadays, the likelihood that a kidnapping was done by, like, a random stranger is, like, slim to none. It's possible, but in most kidnappings, it's, like, a custody dispute, right? So aren't, like, kidnappings committed by strangers, like, really, really rare?
What happened?
We pulled into Michaels, we're getting out of the car, and a couple was parked in front of us. They followed us into the store, followed us throughout the store, followed us through checkout. We're on the phone right behind us. I heard them making comments about my children's hair color and eyes, and I thought...
So not only are these kidnappers total strangers, rare on its own, you have a couple. Now, that's not impossible, right? What's his fucking name? There was a case, Elizabeth Smart. She was kidnapped by a couple, right? That's not impossible. This was a long time ago, and this shit was more common. But then there's also now a third person involved because they're talking to somebody over the phone. So we now have potentially several people conspiring to kidnap random kids.
I thought it was just to be polite. I walk out to my car, there's a large white van.
Oh, and they drive wait, let me guess. It says free candy on it? It says free candy on it, and the male is in a straitjacket.
There were two people who did this?
Yes, it was a couple, but then there was a third person that was in the white van.
Let me get your name and phone number.
How would she have even seen the third person?
Okay, my name is Katie Sorensen.
Okay, I've got an officer. He's gonna
and the man had a big burlap sack. He was holding over his shoulder. It's like she's describing a bank robbery. It was a guy in a striped black and white shirt with a black mask, a black beanie, and a big sack with a money symbol on it behind him.
Go check the parking lot of Michael, see if we can locate that van.
After receiving this unnerving 911 call, Officer McGovern and his trainee meet Katie outside of the police station to get her story, starting with how the couple had supposedly followed her and her two young children into the store from the parking lot.
They were kind of suspicious. They were watching me. I took a while to get out of the car because I had a stroller. They followed me throughout the entire store, every aisle I went down, got in line right behind me, were talking on the phone, and they were I wasn't listening to everything they said, but they did say blonde hair, blue-eyed, boy, girl. They were talking about my kids, I think.
Right behind you within hearing distance where you heard all of that. Yeah, dude.
Okay.
The lady in front of me could kind of sense they were being off. They were just getting really close and just kind of saying weird things.
Okay.
And then she let me get in front of her. I checked out. They should have taken a while because they were another person behind me.
Yeah.
Although Katie might not realize it, what she tells the officer next will later come back to haunt her, as her story hinges on this one unsettling detail.
They must have put their stuff down. They just followed me right out to the car. I called my husband, and we have a code word, so I said it, and he's just stayed on the phone with me until I got the kids out. They were walking in circles around my car first, and then as I was buckling my daughter in, they came up to the stroller.
Who is like this observant unless she was like already on alert? Like typically it's like very, very like strange when somebody can give this many details of like the suspects preceding the situation, unless she was like already worried and like ran out to the car. Like with this much detail, I'd already be like very suspicious of her story. Now, sure, you could say I have like hindsight, but yeah, a code word. Yeah, that's the other part. Like she's not even good at like making a fake story.
One circle around the stroller, saw that I was watching them, and I was I don't know why I got too scared to say something to them, so I saw an old man behind them, and he was looking, and we just made eye contact. I said, "Excuse me, could you help me lift this?" And he was an older man, so he must have had a caretaker or something.
Yeah.
They both came over and helped me and stayed with me until I left.
As if this isn't terrible.
So now in your fake story, she's brought a witness into it, which something they can now verify and disprove your story, right? Most of these places have cameras in the parking lot, so she's just totally fucked herself.
Terrifying enough, what Katie describes next is like something out of a horror film.
And then, so where did the people go?
So they got into their car. This was another big part. When I walked up, I knew what was happening because there was a white van parked right next to my car with the slider door right close, so they could have just put them in that white van.
Okay.
That's my assumption.
So the only thing you heard them say is possibly
crashed.
a description of your two kids, or you and your two kids?
Yeah, that's the only thing that was weird, but then they were circling my stroller and the car. Van that was parked wasn't their vehicle, they were in a different one.
Okay.
And so whoever was in the van, he got out, and then as those people were walking over to me, he got back in. And I made eye contact with him. And
he was the guy with the rimmed glasses that you described? So outside of proximity, did they communicate with?
It's almost like she didn't even think this through before telling like the story. Like if someone's gonna fake this, you're gonna do so in a way that's like gonna be very hard to disprove as false. She decided to fake her kidnapping in a crowded area, the kidnapping story in a crowded area, add witnesses to the story to be tracked down that would either verify or dispute her story. She's made this like one of the most easy to disprove like hoaxes ever.
With each other, or are you just assuming they were?
I'm just assuming they were.
When asked for a description of the couple's car, Katie tells the officer that she couldn't make out much due to the glare of the sun. However, she was able to see that it was a 4-door compact vehicle.
But she could make out that there was a third person inside the van. She couldn't see the car.
That was dark in color. Katie was, however, able to get a good look at the couple.
If you were presented photos of any of these people, would you be able to recognize them?
Yes. Just because I was looking at them, because I was trying to disregard my feelings and try to make conversation. Maybe I was just being crazy, so I kept looking right at them to see if they would talk to me, and they wouldn't make eye contact.
What were the descriptions of the two females?
And I'm trying to think how like not everybody reacts the same. But if someone is like there talking about is she saying she was trying to make conversation with the kidnappers or the man that helped her load stuff into the car? But like if she's talking about the kidnappers, I can think of how my mom would probably react in a scenario like that. When I was younger, actually, you're not gonna believe this story either. I'm not gonna say it wasn't a genuine kidnapping attempt, right? I was going to school in Queens and I was late and I got dropped off by my dad, and as I got out of the car, some fucking woman, like, without a top, literally, was no top on, looked like she was on Fent, tried to grab me. She wasn't trying to grab me and take me anywhere, she just literally tried to grab me. And then it was a whole fucking big deal. But no, she wasn't trying to kidnap me or whatever the fuck. But I can remember this was not the 6th grade, but it was in middle school, so it had to be between the 6th or the 8th. It was either the 7th or the 8th grade. But the lol, what's funny here? Average night in NYC, true. But like if I'm trying to think of how like a parent would react in that situation, you would almost instinctively try to move away from these people, especially if you think they're like a threat to your children. They're on the phone. Yeah, the one over there's got blue eyes. The girl's got brown. You would move your kids away, even if you were like a little bit suspicious and have a flight response. Her response is to go up and talk to these people.
No, it was a male and a female.
Were the 2 people following you?
The male and the female were 2 people following.
Okay, yeah, so what the best description you can recall?
The male he had darker skin tone, maybe Hispanic.
Of course. Out of any like fake, she's like, I gotta make this one believable. Dude, of course she decided.
Wearing a black hoodie.
Couldn't have been some like Norwegian looking guy.
That said Black Lives Matters and had like
Dude, you can't make this up. The other thing too about sexual criminals, assuming which is stranger kidnappers, right? Assuming they're like pedophiles or have some like, because the couple of kidnappings I could think of where you had a couple involved, what was it? Fucking Elizabeth Smart. You have a submissive wife and a dominant husband who wants to kidnap a kid to like make as some sort of slave or kill or whatever, right? And the violent sexual predators almost always target victims of their own race, right? So you could take this like what? Like sexual murderers, right? Serial killers almost always target black victims. White serial killers almost always target white victims. And I think the same carries over to like rapists and like sexual criminals. So already, as if the white van stranger kidnapping wasn't enough of an outlier, you've made it a further outlier by like identifying the kidnapper as like a member of another race.
Graffiti all around it. The mask he was wearing was one of those it's just a pullover, like a sleeve.
Like okay.
Yeah, I don't know if that's helpful.
Yeah, like a gator.
Yeah. He had a shaved head.
How did you get a good enough look at him if he had a mask over his face to tell if he was Hispanic? Did he like walk up to your kids like, yo, hombre? Like, how do you know it was I know that's not how Hispanic people walk up to me, but it's like, how did you tell if he had a mask on? She's like, yeah, and then as he was dragging my kid to the van, he pulled on a sombrero and started playing the maracas. And he's like, arriba, dude, how much more stereotypical can she get? Can you do a police sketch of the guy she's talking about? Yeah.
The female again?
She was Caucasian, had reddish hair, but it was more of like box dyed. It wasn't natural red.
Dude, Toki was the kidnapper.
She had on a blue mask that had some sports team. I didn't see the logo.
Some sports team?
I don't recall what she was wearing.
Okay. So blue mask, red hair, I mean, that'll stand out.
Yeah. I mean, this and they're just kind of rough looking. Like, I don't know.
Rough looking?
That's fine. Yeah.
BLM t-shirt.
In a video posted to her Instagram page, Katie would later describe what happened and what she thought of their appearance.
Monday of this week, my children were the targets of attempted kidnap.
I definitely felt the heebie-jeebies. I didn't feel good, but I thought I was judging a book by its cover. They were not like...
They had a Biden-Harris shirt on. Dude, this is so embarrassing. Can you imagine, like, you fake this shit and get caught? And, like, dude, I would never show my face again. First of all, I wouldn't do something like this to begin with, but I wouldn't show my face again.
Kind. That sounds bad, but they weren't They weren't clean-cut individuals.
With a description of the couple now established, Officer McGovern searches for a possible motive.
And they were on the phone with somebody giving the descriptions.
I don't know if they were on the phone. I didn't turn around to see if they were talking.
You just overheard them.
I just heard.
Is that not what she said at the beginning?
It was very weird context. Like it didn't.
And then I guess
Wait, if you hear somebody that you believe is talking about your children, wouldn't the first response to be to turn around and look, and then you would see if they were on the phone or not? Right, when you glance around. If you think someone is behind you within earshot talking about your fucking children, your initial response would be to turn around.
Are you or your husband, like important people for some reason? Is there something they would be like, we're going to take your kids and hold them to ransom?
I might be my kids are very good looking. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. My son has special needs, so he's nonverbal.
Okay.
But I mean, as far as someone like seeking out us, no.
Yeah. Has anything like this happened in the past?
No.
Okay.
All the time.
That's bizarre. And these people, well, you said they look rough looking, and your children are. This didn't seem like a recruiter or something for like a modeling agency. They weren't like
oh my God.
two very attractive kids, and were
Is that how they
would have said
is
something.
that how they
to you.
recruit for? Yeah, no, actually, they were recruiters for modeling agencies. Yeah, he's got blue eyes. He'd be a perfect one, dude.
Most likely.
What kind of stupid retarded question is that?
Just try. Okay.
As Katie continues to reveal more and more disturbing elements of her story, Officer McGovern tries to piece together some other key details.
Obviously, the suspicious behavior is super weird. The fact that they circled your car, circled the stroller, is bizarre.
All right, folks, we've actually been sent a sketch of the perpetrator, a police sketch, and now I believe her story. I stand with her, okay? This is apparently the man. Just like pretend the t-shirt says BLM on it. This is apparently a sketch of the man who was involved in this horrendous crime. So be on the lookout. This guy's going out here. He's snatching people. He's snatching people, throwing them in his van. So just be on the lookout, people. Be on the lookout. Scary stuff happening.
What? That's.
I don't necessarily know if it meets the criteria of like attempted kidnapping. But
I don't care to press charge. I just want to make it people aware. So it doesn't happen.
I just want the attention without the effort.
Yeah, clearly. And that's why we have like 3 people circling the shopping centers over there. It's like, what the heck's going on? And then, again, associating the 2 different vehicles, that's just based on a hunch that you think they were associated? Yes. Okay. All right, not a problem. But the gentleman in the van, aside from making eye contact with them, didn't appear to interact with anybody.
I was on the phone with my husband, like just freaking out.
Yeah.
So I didn't really pay attention to that. I was just trying to get us safe in the car.
What? Yeah. What? And again, you guys obviously have your standard operating procedure. I've never heard of families having a safe word like that.
That's a really weird story.
You set that up.
We listen to true crime podcasts.
Okay.
Yeah, we know you do, you crazy bitch.
Which is silly, but we just always decided that if
she's not acting like she's not a good liar, right? And once again, I'm saying this with hindsight bias, but like, if my mom had thought somebody had just tried to kidnap, and maybe this is just my mom, like if the cops were talking to her, she'd probably like be in tears recounting it because she would have been so fucking scared. Because if you believe your kids, their lives were just in danger only a few moments ago, you would be shaken up. And I know not everybody reacts the same way. I know there's a case of a guy that got like death row when his kid died because he didn't cry or whatever, so they thought he must have done it, and it turns out he was just like autistic and he didn't do it at all. So I know people react. I don't like to hinge it purely on the reaction, but I know my mom would be like totally shaken up. She's like just like laughing, having a good time. She doesn't want to press charges. No, if I believe these people were trying to kidnap my kids enough to the point where I was willing to call the police and make a report about it, claiming my kids were someone just tried to attempt to kidnap them, I would absolutely want to press charges. Because how could I live at night knowing if they didn't get my kids, they might, I don't know who these people are, they could try again. I don't know these people. Maybe they've had my kids targeted. they might try again.
It was more of if you were in trouble, like yourself. So he didn't even know what I was talking about.
Yeah.
He was like, wait,
What happened? Nothing happened. We found a sketch of the kidnapper, so we were talking about it briefly.
What's going on? Aren't you at Michael's?
Yeah.
And then I was like, I think someone's following us.
Got it.
And so.
Okay.
As the interview comes to a close, Officer McGovern informs Katie of the next steps before they part ways.
We'll keep looking for him, and again, we'll put a BOL out, most likely, it's a dark-colored compact with a possible male
A male Hispanic with a sombrero and a Black Lives Matter t-shirt and a Biden-Harris pin. That's who they're looking for.
Hispanic, and then the description of a white female adult with red hair and a blue mask. Just to at least contact and sort it out, but again, criminally, it's going to be tough to string together what we got. So, okay, well, sorry that happened to you today. That's a very...
This is the police station,
rare
right?
occurrence.
Yeah, this is the police
Especially
station.
since, you said there were a lot of people at Michael.
But at Michael's? Yeah, of course, they're gonna have... This was in the parking lot, in the shop? Is she retarded? You realize if they know the date and time this happened, they're just gonna look at the cameras in the store, especially if they're close enough to you to be an earshot distance. They're just gonna check the cameras, and they're gonna see nobody was there.
It's weird that they would have been that, forthcoming, so...
It was very weird. And like I said, we listen to crime podcasts, so I try to, not go there, but it was that.
Yeah.
So,
all right, I'll let you guys get out of here. All right, well, have a better day. We'll look for...
I don't want to spoil the end for you, but my understanding was the judge, and I didn't know they need to start handing out this sentence, more. This is way more, I'd say, even, sure, give them jail time for using community resources, but for influencers that, go to jail by perpetrating crimes for the sake of gaining online notoriety, apparently she got banned from, the internet for, 12 months or something. They need to just start handing this out to people who get caught committing crimes like this. For the sake of, garnering online influence.
Okay?
Okay, thank you so much.
Not a problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
On December 13th, 6 days after speaking to Officer McGovern, Katie posts a 2-part video to Instagram recounting her petrifying experience that day. Soon the videos go viral, receiving more than 4 million views, and Katie's follower count leaps from about 3,000 to over 80,000.
This is the type of shit the parents who are like, I need my kid to have his phone in school so he could contact me when a shooting happens. It's yeah, we should sacrifice everybody's education because you didn't teach your kids self-discipline. We should sacrifice that because this thing might happen, and this thing that doesn't prevent that at all. They should have access to it, even if we're just nobody's paying attention in class. Those parents, this is the shit they watch. It's the white Western fear-mongering parent, dude. It's so... I found out now, it's a norm. There's an app called Life 360. It's a norm now for people to... Sometimes people I know as old as 19 to have an app on their fucking phone. And when I was a kid, my mom spoke to me about downloading this, and it tracks your kids wherever they go. And I made a very good argument. Good case for myself. My dad actually backed me on this one, and I didn't have to get it, thankfully. But there are many people, many people, that just it's helicopter. These parents are so scared of the world. And they're doing their... Is the concept of tracking your child's every movement and look, is that not really odd to me?
In just one day. Katie's story...
Or to you, is that not really odd to you?
...is particularly concerning for residents of Petaluma, as the city is home to one of America's most notorious child abductions.
JC, whatever her name is?
The kidnapping
or Polly Klaas.
Murder of 12-year-old Polly Klaas in 1993. Pretty
Nirvana made a song about that.
soon, worried parents began calling the Petaluma Police Department, and the following day, on December 14th, Officer McGovern, along with Detective Yeager, head to Katie's house to confront her with some surprising new developments.
I just think the easier... I have no evidence for this, but I feel the easier a generation has it growing up, the worse parents they are. The worse they are at being parents. And dude, parents are so fucking overprotective now. It's insane. They're doing their kids such a disservice.
So it sounds like the initial statement you gave.
There are kids that have anxiety going to college because they're going to be away from home for the first time, and they're like 18 years old. That's like bizarre to me.
McGovern was a lot different.
Okay, that actually, I may be calling some of you out.
On Instagram, and that's why we're here. Okay, because what you posted on Instagram is pretty concerning to us. So if this couple is out there attempting to steal children, right? We need to get all the details that we can. Yes.
If you can't tell, the detective already knows she lied, just based on how she's talking. She's trying to talk her into a confession.
So we were able to go to Michael's today and pull up the video surveillance footage from that.
I don't like to reveal too much about my personal life, but I was out of the house from a young age. You know, this currently have double the viewers. You currently have double the viewers in morale. Thanks, appreciate it. Ego trip. Well, in Morale's defense, it's probably because his title is something like "crazy drama, things happening, things," and like the grammar is like all shit. I bet you that's like exactly what his title. That's probably why he has no views. Morale live. What's his title? What's his title gonna be? Big stuff, I guess. Whatever. Don't care. Whatever. Yeah.
So there's just some clarifying stuff that. So I want to show you a couple photos just to make sure we're talking about the same people.
Okay, but not too much. That was me. Yeah, I probably am unable to empathize with that because I was out of the house from a very young age.
Yeah, if you're willing to look at that. Of course. Yes.
After positively identifying the couple, Detective Yeager presents Katie.
Oh, so the couple was wait. So I got it wrong. The couple was real.
With her findings.
Wait, so that makes it 10 times worse because she's now accusing a random couple.
Subsequently flipping the investigation into the attempted kidnapping on its head.
So on the video footage, this couple actually is in the struggle for about 5 minutes. Both of them? Yeah. And so we watched them.
Calm down, dude. She's being way too attentive to her kid. She's being way too attentive to her. Okay, I know that sounds wrong, but like the kid's like kind of whining, and she looks like she's like shh, shh. She's like in like fucking like distress, like her kid's like on the floor dying. Look at this, dude. She's just like.
We watched them on the video footage throughout the.
No, it was before her like face. Look how like in distress she looks. Like it's not that your kid's whining a little bit. It's not that you're acting like he's on fire. It's not that big of a deal.
5 minutes. Both of them? Yeah. And so we watched them. We watched them on the video footage.
This kid is not retarded. This kid is literally me when I was that age. Because I remember my mom, if she like saw a friend in the store or whatever, she would start talking to this person, and I'd want to go do something, or like because you're a kid, you want to do whatever. Like there was a car sitting on the shelf, a toy car I wanted to buy or whatever, and I would like drag on her, like I would drag on her to go as a little fucking kid, and then she would. It felt like in my kid brain, she would talk to her friend forever, and then the goodbye part would happen, and the goodbye part on its own would take 5 minutes. All right, bye-bye. Oh, wait. You actually saw so-and-so, and then the conversation just continues again, and it is so frustrating, dude.
At the store, and they're not following me.
He's like a toddler.
You guys just happen. The only time you guys come back together is when you're in checking out. They come back. They actually have probably items with them.
Yeah, he might be special. That's okay.
So before we blast their photos out, right, to the media.
Yeah, he seems like he might be nonverbal. I mean, it's fine.
I want to make sure that you're accurate, and I'm not disheartening.
The kid is autism. I'm defending the kid. I'm defending the kid. I'm defending the kid.
What you're telling me, I just want to make sure that because what you're telling us and what we're seeing from the video surveillance, they don't match. And I think that
Come on, Pi. Can we not? Let's not.
I'm so glad that this happened. I think this was an important piece. I don't know if you were the officer. I can't remember. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. you know, it's a lot of work. Yeah. This is my special needs bed. So when you're in a situation like that and you're on high alert, you think you're hearing things, you think you know what's happening. So
No, not to the point where you have an entire in detail story.
this is an important step that I think. Awesome. So I'm not like trying to stick to my story or whatever like that.
No, I'm just like, if these people are out here doing what you're saying they're doing, that's something for us to address, right?
Yeah.
Our next step is going forward with this, is one, prosecuting them, right?
Yeah.
I'm making fun of him. I'm literally telling the moderator, Pi, to not make horrible comments about this kid. I'm defending the kid. I'm not gonna make fun of a fucking kid. He's 8 years old.
And two, making sure this doesn't happen again. At the same
He's
time,
like that because she pampers him all the... Are you guys, like, retarded? Are you guys, like, actually retarded? This isn't, like, a spoiled kid. He's not even verbalizing anything. He clearly is special needs. This isn't a spoiled kid. He's nonverbal. What do you mean you don't get like that from being spoiled or pampered? He's not even speaking. He's nonverbal.
we need to make sure that these people are in fact the people that you saw, and they're doing what you were saying that they did. Because nobody wants to accuse somebody falsely, right?
Exactly, and that's why I'm a little discouraged of the fact that that isn't the same person
Did you see the clip of Keffels tasing herself? No, I have no interest.
that I saw in the parking lot if they were in there before me.
So you just looked at the photo and you said you were definitely...
Yeah, this woman came in here knowing it was a lie. She knows what she's doing. Their job is never... Whenever they come here acting like they're trying to help you or they're concerned or something, I wouldn't say in a kid... If your kids actually were like the victims of a kidnap, like they could reasonably come to you asking questions, try and get more info. But I see these interrogation videos where the interrogators just let themselves, they're so good at getting people to dig their hole. They'll ask questions in an order, in a way where, like, once you say something, you can't go walk it back. And when they claim, you got to be honest with me here so I can help you, because if you're not honest with me, there's nothing I could do for you. They're not there. It's not their job to do anything for you. It's their job to get you charged so then you could go to court and be convicted. There would be no interrogation videos on YouTube if I was the guy being interrogated, because it would literally just start with, so we believe, I'd like my lawyer, and I'd like to plead the fifth or deny any further questioning until my lawyer's presence. And then I just wouldn't talk, and that'd be the end of the interrogation. That's what you do. That's what you should do if you're being interrogated for committing a crime. At this point, she's definitely a suspect.
I'm sorry. Can I see if he'll go inside for a minute? It's just a little less distracting. Thank you.
Just as the heat is starting to turn up, Katie takes a pause to settle her son, granting her a momentary reprise from Detective Yeager's uncomfortable line of questioning. A few moments later, Katie's husband arrives home.
Your dad, I'm assuming.
It's either smart. The people that talk during these interrogations are either stupid people or like narcissists. Because the narcissists, if they know there's overwhelming evidence against them, some of them just like love the interrogations in a weird way. So some of them are smart enough to ask for or they'll do it. It's a psychological tactic where they'll tell you you're free to go. Nobody ever takes them up on that offer because you think if you leave, they're going to be doing something without you and be like mad or like more suspicious because you didn't talk to them. That's another thing they do. If they say, yeah, you're free to go.
Very cute kids, Dave. Very cute.
Yeah, they are. Katie, people are trying to call you. I know you're busy, but just...
I didn't realize.
What a fucking dead... Okay, I don't know enough about the husband to say that. She's talking to a detective. She's got her special needs kid in her hand who's like tugging her every which way. And he's like, people are trying to call you. She's talking to the fucking police, dealing with the kid. Why don't you go take the kid, retard? Go inside. And she can deal with the call after she's been talking to the detective.
Sorry, you probably won't leave me alone. So as long as it's okay.
Oh, dude, this video is gonna be impossible to watch.
So anyway, back to this. We want to make sure that because we are going to put their pictures.
Why is this? Wait. Okay, so I didn't pre-watch this. Are we just not going to be able to listen to this the whole time because the deadbeat husband isn't taking the kid?
On media, these are the people that in fact said were doing that, and they reached for the stroller and they thought they were going to kidnap you. These are important things that we.
Yeah, that part, without a shadow of a doubt, that is what was happening. There is absolutely no rhyme or reason to someone taking steps forward and reaching. That is without a shadow of a doubt. I can see how the timing.
She just tried to claim she maybe was like over vigilant and nothing really happened. Now she's sure they tried to grab her kids.
Following. Yes.
Oh, thank God. Thank God, Tubby McFat fuck. Finally stepping in and we should have done 5 minutes ago. Your wife's talking to the cops. You can't take the kid?
The timing of following in, I can see how that could have been misinterpreted. Do you remember?
He's implicated, so I don't think he does. The officer didn't. Did she request his presence? Did I miss that?
What they were saying to you? They didn't say anything to me. Okay. They were talking about the kids. They were describing their features. Okay. And then they said they made comments about him not wearing a mask. I didn't listen clearly.
They had a BLM shirt, and now they made comments that the husband wasn't wearing. Oh, so this was during COVID. Oh my, let me guess. She's MAGA. Let me guess. She accused your kids of being trans, got on you for not wearing a mask. It was a Mexican with a BLM shirt wearing a Biden Harris pin. Dude, the woman, it was a, wait, I'm now thinking about this. A Mexican with a BLM shirt, a white woman with dyed hair. She's just describing like Republican stereotypes of liberals. The dyed-haired lib accompanied by a Mexican with a BLM shirt.
Thing that they were saying, but they were saying blonde hair, blue eyes.
It'd be easy to distract.
Yeah, they were just saying like things. Usually, what I was expecting at first was I thought
they were saying all this within earshot distance. Yeah.
They were going to make comment to that when my kids were wearing masks, so that was where my head was at. And so I wasn't really listening in detail. I just heard my kid the first time that I heard them talking.
At this very moment, Katie has just backtracked on something she said in one of her Instagram videos. In both encounters with the police, Katie...
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt this. I'm being invited to Jackbox games being hosted in this other server, which I disavow. Alright, if anything goes down in this server, I do not endorse anybody joining. But I'm being sent... The champion of being afraid of commitment versus the champion of dating. This is drawn by Nico. Is this supposed to be me? Good one, buddy. Good one. And then we've got another one. The underappreciated worker. Toki, and he lost the debate, which is Glue. Okay, the Toki one is really unfunny. Whoever did that. I'm glad you lost.
Katie makes it clear that she didn't hear the man speak much. However, she told her followers that after the couple described her children's features, she claims she then heard the man say,
The boy will be easier because he's not wearing a mask, so the mom must not.
They're described. It's like she thinks kidnappers are like supervillains from movies. Like they tell you the whole evil plan within earshot before they do it. Yeah, good one.
I care about him.
It's hard. I want to be.
No, I want you to take your time.
I really do want to be 100% sure because I do not want to falsely.
No.
Anything.
No.
As the awkward conversation continues, Katie finally acknowledges what brought the police back to speak with her.
Like this whole Instagram thing, yesterday had 3,000 followers, mostly friends, people I went to school with. I did not think that this was going to be anything at all.
Which is why she faked it. She wasn't interested in pressing charges, and then according to her, her whole reason for calling the police because she wanted people to know. But yeah, wasn't interested in followers. Wasted police resources, time.
They haven't implemented because now they're afraid of their children, which is one step. So we either want to reassure them that we're doing everything we can to find them, or it's like we're trying to give you justice and to do the right thing here. At the same time, there's a lot of.
She's terrified at this point. She's probably like very like stupid, very low IQ. In her mind, she never thought that this would come back to bite her in the ass, or else she wouldn't have done it. I bet you this wasn't even like that pre-planned. I bet you they kind of winged it. Like the wife gave a story and the husband backed it up because he loves his wife. Maybe not, because based on what we just saw, where he wasn't picking up the kids. But it seems like she didn't pre-plan this all that much. It seemed to be potentially like pretty impulsive.
So 100% they reached for my stroller. 100% they were saying things that they shouldn't have been saying about my kids.
You just said before you weren't sure.
100% they circled my car towards the end.
It should be noted that this is now the third time Katie has told officials that the couple circled her car. First to dispatch in her initial 911 call, then to Officer McGovern when he met her outside the police station, and now to Detective Yeager. Despite her claims that the couple 100% circled her car, she described the incident to her followers on Instagram.
Yeah, obviously not, because she doesn't even keep her story straight.
Differently.
And they walk around, not the full perimeter, but half of the car. They go back and forth around half of my car.
They were parked closer to Michael's. They have no reason to go.
I guess you could. Okay. Obviously, I know she lied, but that wouldn't be good evidence she lied. She could have just misused the word circled. Pacing would have been a more appropriate word, but that's not really like. I don't see that as like, wow, that's like a major contradiction.
Cars beyond their own car to walk around my wife's car. You know what I mean? That's what's really.
And that is
how they prove intent. The prosecutor would make a narrative for the jury, and then he has evidence to support that narrative. She wasn't interested in pressing charges. She immediately ran to social media to give her side of events. She had recently created a social media account and was an aspiring rising influencer, presenting a motive, and then you could bring up the extreme detail of her lies that are disprovable by objective footage like video recordings. So how specific the lies were didn't leave them up to misinterpretation, which would mean either she's delusional or there's intent. And considering there's a good motive and she doesn't seem to be delusional in her conversation, you could then reason, okay, she wanted to grow a following account and that's why she lied about this. And she lied about it, yeah. And the proof of the lie is the footage refuting her very specific claims.
Like, I will testify, that is what happened. One thing that I have felt like I don't have 100%, and when people ask me, I say, I don't really know, is the white van. It very well could have just been coincidental. That
you said it was their van. You said it was their van.
Although small, this is another discrepancy in her story.
There was a white van parked right next to my car.
Perhaps sensing Detective Yeager's skepticism.
You said there was a third person in the car. You said there was a third person in your... She probably thought in hindsight, that sounds too She probably started to get anxious, realizing they're on her, and she's now thinking through the parts of her story that were too obvious, and she's trying to walk it back.
Katie's husband chimes in to back her up.
You tell them details like you went to the very back corner of the store to get your spray paint, and they followed you.
So they watched the footage, and this couple didn't come in.
The husband's trying to... Oh my... This is why it was good he wasn't there for the beginning. He's even now confirming the wife had given him very specific details about where they followed her. He doesn't realize they have the surveillance footage. Oh, that's such a good moment. She's like, well, yeah, Bill, actually, the lie I gave you to repeat doesn't work now because they recorded it. He didn't know they had to record. That's so good.
You tell them details like you went to the very back corner of the store.
He's trying to build up her lie, and he doesn't realize that's already been refuted. And if anything, he's incriminating her more because he's showing the certainty of it because she had repeated that same story to him, apparently.
So they watched the footage, and this couple didn't come in. It's not the same couple that...
This guy didn't get got.
At the same time as these people...
He might have. If he could have just believed her.
She's saying that all of her were already in the store 5 minutes before. We watch them throughout the store, and they don't come on surveillance. They don't come with anywhere near her until everybody's in line. And these people in line act caught up with them. So that's why we drove out. We were trying to call her to kind of clarify some of this.
Yeah. I'm so sorry. The kids, I really didn't have my phone, and I've been trying not to look at it because it's too much for me right now.
Yeah, I don't...
This is all our property, so okay, yeah.
So, would you recognize these two if you saw them again? If we were to do a photo lineup, would you recognize them again?
Yeah.
Okay. And willing to go forward with prosecution? Yes. Okay.
Oh, that's also... She knows these are real people. She's made this lie about real people. So if she's now admitted she is potentially now, she's just shown that she is now, I could say, okay, well, she technically didn't want this to result in arrest. She just wanted the attention from it. Now she is totally okay with potentially getting people falsely imprisoned to perpetuate the lie that she created for social media growth. Yeah, she needs to do some serious fucking time, especially these are... I was okay with the sentence of, like, giving her a bit of jail time and then banning her from social media for a very long time. I think that's like a really good consequence of this. But now knowing that the lie was actually in relation to real people whose livelihoods were at risk by virtue of this lie, she needs some serious time.
All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to work with these people. We're probably going to put this out in some social media, see if some people can help us. And then Officer McGovern will contact you at a later date when we have full lineup. Maybe you can come down to the station to view that.
Okay. I don't want to misrepresent what has happened. I do think it's important for parents to be aware, but I don't, like, it makes me a little uneasy that you guys are getting blown up about this.
You've claimed that you've claimed that someone tried to kidnap children. Makes me a little uneasy.
I mean, I think it's important, but I don't want to, I guess I'm feeling doubt that I misremembered the story, and I don't want to misrepresent what happened and make it a bigger, I don't know.
So for my personal, it's like if I am a victim of something like this, I would want to trust us, right? That we're going to do the right thing.
Yeah.
I would like to trust the police department that we're going to do the right thing.
Yes.
I don't know if, and this is just me, I don't know if I would want my stuff blasted over media.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how that makes you feel. It would make me feel uneasy.
They probably became even more suspicious of her when she ran to social media about it.
Yeah.
But it definitely makes it harder for us to find them and prosecute them when it's everywhere.
Yeah.
There's an Aussie term, shit cunt. I like how you like started wording. I was like thinking, oh, is it gonna be like some like actual word? It's a term. Yeah. Dude, I don't know why. I was expecting something totally different than a shit cunt. Yes, in my language we have a saying, shit cunt. I know Australians speak English, or the non-Aboriginal Australians, I know, but I was expecting something different.
It's kind of like, I don't need to say this, but the O.J. Simpson thing, it was so blasted everywhere, right?
Dude, this woman is so old. The most recent example she could think of a case that had like high publicity was O.J. Simpson. How old is this woman?
They had a hard time finding a town that they could prosecute.
Dude, she might be like older than Xylee Gets Real. Xylee Gets Real, like 3/4 of her 3/4 of the time period comprising her entire life is documented in high school history textbooks. She might be older.
They could get 12 jurors that didn't know anything about it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this doesn't help us when it goes out, when it gets blasted like this.
I mean, yeah, that's what I don't want.
Do you know what the O.J. Simpson case is? Yes, I know what the O.J. Simpson case is.
I care more about them not doing this again. I care more about like parents being more aware, but I don't think it's necessary for everybody to know all the details of everything. So I guess that was just, you answered my question, was to just keep that. I did turn off all the comments and
oh, she has a tell.
After Detective Yeager warns her of the possible repercussions of posting more about the case on social media, Katie then goes inside to get her phone so she can show them a message she received from someone online telling her that something similar happened to them in the Michaels parking lot. While the detective looks at the message,
You always have people like this.
Officer McGovern has one more serious issue with Katie's story to point out as they prepare to leave.
So did you go right from Michael's back to your car?
Yeah.
The man did exit the store quickly behind you, but the woman remained in the store for almost a minute, chit-chatting with the clerk. She was trying to make a sale. She was scanning something on her phone. I'm assuming that was like a receipt or a coupon.
Hold on.
So she
Weird
remained in the
thought.
store.
My mouse, it's in my hand right now. You can control it like a remote. It could be like handheld. I'm just moving my finger along the bottom where the tracker is. Dude. The fuck? I didn't know you could do this. But what happened to the video? Shit, I just... No, okay. That was a really weird thing to get caught up on. Look. Dude, look. It's in my hand, and I can control the mouse. Dude. Oh my god. Dude, this is sick. I know it's a laser. I know. Dude, I never really thought of it like this. Whoa. Okay, unpause. Pause the video. Unpause it.
Magic thing.
Dude, why? I'm never going back. This is how I'm using my mouse from now on. Okay, let's get back to this. I just lost the video. Great stuff. Great streamer. I'm sorry. I get very happy about... I shouldn't. Listen, very simple things bring me happiness. Alright? Just let me have my moment, okay?
I don't know how that makes you
Just let me have my moment.
feel. It would make me feel
I haven't felt genuine joy and excitement like that in like a very long time.
uneasy. Yeah. But it definitely makes
Dude.
it harder for us to find them and prosecute them when it's everywhere. Yeah. It just does. It's kind of like, I don't need to say this, but the O.J. Simpson thing. It was so blasted everywhere, right? Yeah. They had a hard time finding a town that they could prosecute it. They could get 12 juries.
Message she received from someone online telling her that something similar happened to them in the Michaels parking lot.
Both of them, how long we got to their car, at what point they linked back up.
The hand in hand, I didn't visually see that until they were walking around my car. So they weren't walking hand in hand behind me out of the store.
Okay.
Because I was so just trying to get to the car, I didn't turn around and look.
Dude, if you think that was cringe, you should see me when I get bubble wrap in a package. I get so fucking, I lose my mind, dude. I care about the bubble wrap way more than I care about the actual package.
I just felt behind me. I just
there
felt
was some
followed.
presence.
Yes, and then getting to my car.
Wait.
Both of them, how long we got to the door, quickly behind you, but the woman remained in the store for almost a minute, chit-chatting with the clerk. She was trying to make a sale. She was scanning something on her phone. I'm assuming that was like a receipt or a coupon. Yeah, so she remained in the store and was making transactions. That's why I'm trying to see if you recall both of them, how long we got to their car, at what point they linked back up.
The hand in hand, I didn't visually see that until they were walking around my car. So they weren't walking hand in hand behind me out of the store.
Okay.
Because I was so just trying to get to the car, I didn't turn around and look. I just felt behind me. I just felt
there was
followed.
some presence.
Yes, and then
Okay, so now okay, really, that's okay. So they're like, yeah, we actually have no verification they were following you into the parking lot or whatever. So it's like, okay, well, I didn't see them. I just felt their presence. I thought you didn't get a good look at the car, but you got a good enough of a look at it to be able to see what kind of car it was. You knew where they were around your car. You said they were circling it or going in a semicircle. So you did see them in the parking lot. Now it's you felt them. You just felt they were there.
Car and seeing them do that is...
But the last time you saw them, they were inside the store, and then upon exiting, they were also both together. It wasn't just the guy or just the girl. It was both of them were linked back up at that point.
They were holding
At the
hands
point that
or trying to kidnap.
Without a shadow of doubt, saw them. Yes, they were
Okay.
both together, and there is no excuse. I would love to hear if there is a.
Watch, it's gonna turn out that as the wife was talking to the clerk, the husband pulled the car up front to pick her up. I bet you that's what happened.
For taking a few steps forward towards the stroller, a few steps back, a few steps forward, and I saw he had something in his hand, because that was my first red flag.
You think she would mention that her first time talking to the officer?
Hands like what?
He was carrying a phone the whole time he was in the store, so that's probably, I don't know why he would have changed his behavior in the park.
Yeah, and she said that he was on the phone in the store, so she's...
But that's what he was. And then when she left the store, she was carrying a bag of belongings.
After this uncomfortable exchange has concluded, Detective Yeager gives Katie her card and leaves with Officer McGovern. In an effort to corroborate Katie's story, the Petaluma Police Department issued a press release which included a
Her hair isn't even dyed.
photograph of the couple, asking for anyone with information to come forward.
The Hispanic dude with the BLM shirt, I was like, she made that up. She made that up. And then she actually didn't make it up. I just remembered it's California, so...
The couple, later identified as Eddie and Sadie, were made aware of the accusations by their teenage daughter, whose friend recognized them in the photo. The two promptly agreed to an interview with police, and 3 days later, on December 17th, it was announced that Sadie and Eddie were officially cleared as suspects, and that police were now investigating Katie. Katie Sorensen was charged with 3 counts of falsely reporting a crime, and on June 29, 2023, she was convicted on one of those counts. She was subsequently ordered to serve 90 days in jail, 60 of which could be served on a work release program.
Oh no, she should do the full. Oh no, the judge was probably going to be more lenient to the amount of jail time she got, because I get what the judge was thinking here. The judge was probably going to be more lenient to the amount of jail time she got because there's 2 disabled kids at home and she's their predominant caretaker. So the kids don't deserve to suffer. But then remove her access to social media.
She was required to complete a 4-hour implicit bias training. She was also placed on 12 months of informal probation, where she was prohibited from having a social media presence.
That's so based. But if she's going to get as little as 90 days in jail over that whole thing, it should have been longer. It should have been like 2 years. Should have been like 2 years. What the fuck? Okay, I'm not gonna watch that on stream. I'm gonna end stream, but what the fuck? Oh my god, dude, that's disgusting. Wait, what is this?
President Donald Trump is calling...
Oh my... Dude, Sky News Australia... Dude, there is, like, literally... Go to Sky News Australia, and all the comments are, like, conservative MAGA being like, I'm glad the Australians have some common sense. Sky News Australia is not for Australia, by the way. Anytime I've seen them, it's just them, like, they're more conservative than Fox News reporting on American politics. For some reason, Sky News Australia is, like, a news channel covering American politics from the most like conservative angle possible. They literally have a segment on their show called Lefties Losing It.
To Liberation Day, promising to impose reciprocal tariffs. But he's now indicated many countries could be given a break.
And it's all the people being like,
well, after
glad the Australians are the ones with common
some
sense. And it's like, no, these are... Where is it? It's owned by Murdoch? Oh, that makes sense. Dude, it's like all just they use this as like evidence. Yeah, even the world hates Biden. No, this whole channel is this whole channel is dedicated to that. That's what this whole channel is dedicated to. Yeah, it's not, I don't think it's like even made for Australians. It's like all their most popular videos are like conservative US shit. Oh, no, that's right. Nope, you're right, because I forgot. I forgot that Murdoch. I'm forgetting that Rupert Murdoch. He's Australian, right? Or he's Australian born. Nope, you're right, Phil. If I feel like I remember that he was born in Australia or some shit. That guy's, I can't believe that guy's still alive. Check out topic suggestions. Fell for it again award. Reactivating after this month or so long detox. I want to spend more time talking with folks and trying to repair my... You're not repairing your rep, dude. I've had this conversation with them 800 times. Here we go again. DMs are open. If you want to chat or just give your opinion. If this little experiment doesn't work, I'll take my leave again. No, you're not. At least he's got some Oh, I don't care. Is that a gif of him in a Discord? Dude, this guy can't be helped. He's a goner. He's a goner. He's a total goner. It's Fallen Chungus. It's a long story. Alright, folks. Well, I do gotta get to bed early. Tonight. So I'm probably going to have to wrap it up here. I know we haven't been going long. I might be live tomorrow. I have a huge giga paper due from a professor who I happen to like, is a grammar Nazi to the max. Like, to the max. You're too old to just be using simple punctuation. So, I don't know. I'm terrified. I'm absolutely terrified. We saw like an example in a lecture, and it was like one of the best papers I've ever seen someone write before. He's like, yeah, this was a C. So I'm shitting myself, but I might be on tomorrow depending on how early I get it done. I might not. Good luck for myself, and yeah. Take care. Peace.